We have hit the thing. And now, according to the thing, we are live. Greetings, everybody, on this eve of the Iowa Caucuses. Welcome one, welcome all. I am your host, the Memes of Destruction here, along with, to my right, we have Doku. Say hello, Doku. You have to unmute the
Hey,
mic.
yeah. How you doing, man? Thank you
We're,
for letting me on.
we're doing all right, as well as we are joined by the Mad Libertarian, also known as Mad Dodge Productions. Say hi, Mad.
Hi, Mad.
All right, so now that we've got the obligatory hellos out of the way, we'll do a quick scroll through the chat. I see we have an MC, we have a Dark Hunter, along with Junebug Films. Welcome. I hear that you are Spartacus. I enjoy that show. I also have polypropylene gladiuses behind my bed, just in case if there's any intruders. But this evening we're going to be discussing the Iowa caucuses. This is basically the kickoff to election 2020, at least for the primaries as we're going. We're primarily going to be focusing on the Democratic side, as it's generally assumed for the most part that President Trump will win his caucuses and everything, since I don't really see any major contenders that haven't been plagued by scandal or anything. So yes, but MC, if you want to pop on, I'll shoot you a quick link on Twitter. Well, we can do that for you, just because I always value your input, even if I vehemently disagree, because we can have animus and not be enemies. That's okay. We like to have very fervent discussions, and at times it makes for an entertaining evening. So, Doku, Mad, what are your thoughts? What are our initial thoughts for the evening? The initial results should be coming out any time now, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute.
Well, since Matt is muted, I'll go ahead and give my opinion on things. I think it's going to go to Warren. I really do.
What makes you say that?
Well, two things. Biden has too many gaffes, and well, the establishment just doesn't like Bernie. He's already got. I won't say he got screwed over, but there's enough working against him. Everyone in the DNC has already proven that they cheat, the way that the whole system is set up. Uh, if they really wanted a viable candidate to run against Trump and they actually cared about winning, it would have been either Gabbard or Yang. I dislike both of them, but they have a much better chance than Bernie. Bernie's too old, and he's too far to the left. There's too much against him, especially with the Veritas stuff that's come out. And Warren has too much people working to put her on a pedestal within the DNC. It's probably going to go to her.
Now, do you really think that could happen? And just as far as the whole thing with the Bernie thing, it's like a lot of the mainstream media really hasn't covered that or anything, and it really hasn't seemed to affect him at all, at least according to polling.
Yeah, but you also have to remember the thing about the super delegates. Come on, tell me that. Tell me
No,
that
no,
they're not.
no, well, no, that's another story. That is a completely other beast that we're not really dealing with at the moment. But that is something that even a lot of my progressive and hippie friends up here in Massachusetts, when I shared that story, they weren't fans of that. They were not fans of that at all. They've been Bernie folks for a good long while now, and these are folks I played Dungeons and Dragons with, so I do also value their opinion. Not that it's necessarily connected, but in some ways, I guess it kind of is. But that's okay. But
Yeah, I'm just
go-
saying it looks like they're trying to set up Warren to be the candidate, and yeah, it's gonna piss off all the Bernie or bust bros. And yeah, it's is anybody really surprised though? Like this is commonplace action for the DNC. They always pick the establishment candidate, the one that they want. It it's always worked this way. You shouldn't
well,
be surprised.
wait, hold on, Doku. You're not saying that a certain billionaire that may have donated a total of $300 and something thousand fully legally in three separate donations to the DNC that happened to modify some of their criteria for him to get into an upcoming debate. You're not saying that, are you?
I don't know what type of bloomer you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean that would be highly concerning as well. But yes, at least according to the Googles here are our initial results. Let's refresh. We are still waiting. They did estimate at about 8:30 we would be getting the results. So anybody that is interested in this, feel free to like or share this around. Yes, self-shilling, self-shilling, self-shilling. But all right, let's see what the June bug is saying. The June bug is saying I'm going to get my Christian beliefs and voting for Buttigieg. I don't like the. Okay, well, that's. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion on everything like that. But no, that's the thing. I mean, he did serve the country and everything, and actually, the whole Medicare for all that want it seems like a decently reasonable proposal. It's like the whole public option that President Obama was kind of shooting for when they realized they weren't going to be getting single payer or anything like that. But that's the thing. It's like we are entitled to our opinions and stuff. And does the United States healthcare system need reform? I believe it does. And that's, you don't need to be like a Harvard educated with a master's degree in like medical science and stuff like that to figure out that when you got Americans crossing over the border to go buy drugs from Canada that are manufactured here in the United States, there's a disconnect somewhere. So, no, I feel you on that one. I feel you. And that's one of those things. So Junebug, do you happen to be from Iowa by chance? I don't want you to dox yourself or anything. I'm just kind of curious. You seem a little bit newer to our chat and everything, and we welcome you here, as well as we do have King Batman 101. What's going on, my man? Now we're just waiting for the results of the Iowa Caucus to come in. I've seen a number of things kind of going around as well. Oh, I'm sorry, MC. I missed you there. I saw a little red thing. I should make my screen larger. There we go. Oh, and Matt's hidden back there too. My apologies. I'm a neglecting host.
Neglectful.
Oh, okay. Yes, that proper prepositional thingamajigger. I don't know. Grammar can be difficult. But MC, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about what's going to go on? What do we think is going to happen tonight?
What's going to happen tonight? I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to play out. I don't know if I think Sanders has a better than even chance to take in Iowa. I think that there is talk that the one who's going to really do well here is Klobuchar. I don't believe that necessarily. We'll have to wait and see. I think eventually what will happen is there'll be a coalescing behind several different candidates. Bernie Sanders will take the lion's share, I think, and then will come in Biden. Where Klobuchar, where Andrew Yang, I think Pete Buttigieg, if he comes in third, is helped. If he doesn't come in third, if he comes in fourth or below, he's done.
Okay. So
Okay. No, I have a question. Okay. So MC, do you really think the people of Iowa are stupid enough to elect Bernie Sanders to nominate him?
You are very loud, Mad.
Let me explain the Iowa caucus bit. Okay, when they talk about a caucus, they talk about a caucus. They get together and they argue with one another in their faces, and they try to come back with this is our consensus. All right. So when there's a ton of support at the caucus site for Bernie Sanders, and there will be, okay, this is something that many people don't understand. There can be a lot of people at these caucuses that aren't even part of that district or part of that group. They can be coming from other areas. Okay.
Wait. Do you mean like busing in from other states?
Oh yeah.
Like illegal or?
Well, it's not okay. It's not illegal. This is not an election. This is the selection criteria that they use in Iowa for primaries. They don't caucus during voting. Okay. It's just the setup that they have.
So as far as I remember from at least the last time around, you literally have folks like in like a school auditorium or something, and you'd have like the different sections for the different candidates, and folks would literally be saying, "Yeah, come on over here, come on over here." Yeah. So that's literally what it is. Now, all these folks, these are all folks from Iowa, though, correct?
You hope.
Now, MC. Here's the thing. I
in
live
the
in.
bigger cities,
Go on.
in the bigger cities, it's impossible to know for sure.
Okay, because I've never been to a caucus. All I know is at least when I'm going in here in Massachusetts, they're at least verifying your name or something like that. And if I had been lazy and not sent the thing back, and I'd been purged from the voter rolls, they're asking for my identification, and I'm signing the affidavit, swearing who I am. That's all that I am.
Okay, but if you say I am who I am and you walk on in, if you say I'm authorized to be here and I put my little signature down, all right, what have you actually done? I mean, what checks are actually done in this case? In the, like I said, this is a caucus. This is not necessarily a primary. Okay.
It's part of the primary system, but wait, could you explain a caucus to the folks? Because even I'm a little confused.
Well, a caucus is you get together, all right, as a group, and you argue about how you're going to break things down. And in the Iowa caucuses, you could sit up and say, "Well, I want it to be." I'm not trying to bash him, but I'm just going to use Andrew Yang as an example. Andrew Yang, let's say, of the 100 people, and I'm just using this once again as a theoretical. Out of the 100 people, 5 people sit up and say, "I want Yang. I want Yang." Well, we're not the caucus won't report a Yang vote if you've only gotten 5 out of the 100.
You need to be at least a 15% threshold, correct?
Correct. You need at least 15 out of 100 in order for that to work. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll say, okay, you didn't make your 5 didn't make it, come over here. And then both sides will then, all the different other ones are saying, hey, come and join us, come and join us. Now, initially, the Yang people will go, okay, if I can get maybe 5 of the Tulsi people, or if I can get 5 of the Klobuchar people to come over, right, then I can get my 15, right? So they're gonna mix and match for a while until certain ones either give up the ghost and walk away, right, changing the percentage, right, or they're going to join one of the other larger vote getters in that regard. Now, Klobuchar in the early primary things did get some steam, all right, which is why you can't ignore her. There was one smaller caucus area that already had their little get together and vote, and they voted for Klobuchar. So she's got some heft in that regard. The rest of it, though, went to Bernie.
Right. Well, a lot of the things that we've seen is, and yes, Senator Klobuchar she's moved up there. She does seem to be more of a moderate, some may say corporate candidate as well. She is a senator. I still remember her coming out, and her entrance into the whole foray was during the middle of a snowstorm, and that's respectable. Folks like to kind of go after her, like, oh, she ate salad with a comb. It's like, personally, I think that's being ingenious as long as the comb is clean. But what are our initial thoughts? Do we think it's going to go the way polling has been, and we're going to see something along the lines of?
There hasn't been enough polling here to know what's really going to happen. Now, as far from a national perspective, each area is its own little area. Is it going to go with the way the national does? No, it never does. All right, but does that mean that overall, how do we expect this to go? I honestly think the one thing that you can't ignore about Bernie Sanders is when he actually gets on stage, himself, he draws a crowd. So he's drawing support. This means that these people are going to show up at the caucus site. That's energy is important, especially in primaries. All right, it's important throughout the election. Let's be honest. But if you don't have the energy, then it's not going to go anywhere. There was some energy initially for Elizabeth Warren, but then she seemed to drop way down. Now, how is this going to turn out? It's cold right now in Iowa. It's cold. It's wet. There's snow on the ground. All right. Are people going to come out for Elizabeth Warren? Are people going to come out for, people are going to come out for Bernie Sanders? Are people going to come out for Joe Biden? I'll be honest with you. I've often thought that Joe Biden was never going to make it out past New Hampshire. Now, there is a poll in New Hampshire. I don't want to steal it from the University of Massachusetts Lowell. They did a poll, which is quite shocking. And that is that Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are neck and neck. if that poll is credible, and I'm putting a big if caveat, that is a disaster for Bernie. Bernie should take New Hampshire running away, right now, and that's not today. That's not the Iowa caucuses, right? How will that affect the Iowa caucuses? Quite frankly, Iowa and New Hampshire have been at odds with each other as far as what the results have been for a long time. What happens in Iowa seems to have absolutely no bearing as to what happens in New Hampshire and vice versa.
And just kind of going through the check again. Hello there, NASCAR 9012, along with Mitch. Mitch, I think I sent you a message on Twitter with a link, along with Jelly Duck and Steve Bear. Welcome one, welcome all. Yeah, we're just covering the caucuses, just waiting for some initial results to come on in here. I'm not sure. I'm sure MC has some news or something going. So if you get any additional results, please draw my attention to it, and we'll go take a look. Just because I don't have a TV on in the room because it's downstairs. So these things happen. But I mean, again, my initial thoughts is, and I just based upon the good old Lowell poll over there. That would be very interesting because I remember Biden was basically neck and neck probably around, I don't know, a month or so ago. About last week, it looked like Bernie was upwards of ahead by almost a dozen points or so over there. And again, that's only polling. Polling and what actually happens are often two different things as well. And usually, as we've seen before, Iowa is often used as a springboard to kind of jump up, kind of get some momentum going as we get into the New Hampshire primaries that are coming up next week as well. So,
well, Mad Dog, you had a question. Did I answer your question correctly, fully?
Yeah, pretty much. I just the way I'm looking at it, I don't really see how Bernie Sanders is a viable candidate in the general election, and if he's not a viable candidate in the general election, then why nominate him? What's the point? You're setting yourself up to lose again. It's like the Democrats, they have a majority, but they can't wrap their head around having a majority, if that makes any sense.
Well, okay. What makes you think that he
what
can't
makes
win?
me well no I'll interrupt. What makes me think what? Look at the field, look at the screen that we're looking at. There's like 25 people running for the nomination. Are you kidding me right now?
No. What makes
I
you
mean,
think
even the
that
libertarians don't have it going on like this. Look.
No,
Like, okay, you split that demographic up between 20 people. None of them are going to beat Trump. They're going to tear each other apart before they even get to him. And he's not a pushover.
Okay, you had 16 running against Trump at this point in time last year. Or, I mean, last election cycle in 2016.
And how did that go?
Trump won.
Well...
but he was, he was the GOP candidate. All right, you had this GOP doing the same thing. I don't see why Sanders can't necessarily do that in the Democrat.
Well, Sanders can't do it because Sanders is a communist, and the fact that he cannot. Sticks had something really good to say today, and I haven't been agreeing with him a lot lately. But today he said something very viable. And what he said was, if you look at Bernie Sanders, he can at least answer his free giveaways one at a time. But you load them all up, and he can't tell you how he's going to pay for it. He can't, because he can't pay for them all at once. But that's better than Elizabeth Warren. She can't explain how to pay for anything.
Now, Matt, just before we go on, could you just turn the gain on your mic down just a hair, just because you're almost blowing my ears out a little bit. So I'm just paying attention to the audience. That's all. So go ahead, Doku.
Oh no, I just wanted to point something out for Dodge. This is the caucus. This is leading up to the primary to figure out who's going to be the Democrat nominee. They're not necessarily, because if you ask me, there's not a single person in this lineup that really holds a candle to Trump.
Oh, hold on. We have a quick breaking news report. This just in: Trump wins the Iowa GOP caucuses.
No.
Of course.
According
But
to the
no,
Hill as
there's
of
not.
4 minutes ago. Continue.
It, but there's not really anyone that could really give Trump a run for his money. Like, not the same way that Clinton did in 16. And we all know how that went. The caucus is basically, think about this like who you're electing for homecoming queen or homecoming king. Like, that's basically what this is. It like, don't even figure Trump into the equation at this point in time, because all the people that are going to be voting for this, the only ones who are not going to be voting blue no matter who are the Bernie bros and the Yang gang, who are going to say, all right, fine, I'm just not going to vote. They're not going to vote for Trump, but no one that's voting in this caucus is going to vote for Trump anyways.
No, we don't know that, dude. There are, because remember, there was a whole thing with like the whole Bernie Bros last time, and I would have to push back on what Mad was kind of saying, because I do believe Bernie Sanders does draw on upon some of that same populism that the president did use to help fuel him to get to the White House. And I'm not sure about this time around, because I'm unsure if Vice President Biden really has his heart really in this. But last time around, he's the type of person that I believe on stage, you'll almost be thinking, oh, do we have to separate those two, or are they going to get into like little fisticuffs? Because I remember Joe said something about behind the gym. So I don't know, maybe he was talking about corn pop or something.
I'm gonna give MC a heart attack here real quick, but no, I think the majority of people this time around, and obviously this is me speculating, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think a lot of the Bernie bros this time around aren't going to vote for Trump out of spite. They're just not going to vote. I mean, you're going to have a few that are going to do that, of course. But Tim Pool loves to pull up that graph where it shows how far left the left has moved versus how far right the right has moved. The right has kind of centered itself versus the left has continued to move further and further left. And Bernie is a far left candidate, the same way that Yang is. The establishment Democrat candidates like Warren and Biden, they've had the same kind of like support that you would expect to see someone like Clinton have. If the Bernie and Yang gang, if they don't get their way, I more expect them to just say, fuck it, we're just not going to vote. Screw you. Maybe some of them will actually take the time to go out and vote. But
what happens if the Bernie Bros, all right, are shafted by the Yang gang, because the Yang gang, the Tulsi Gabbard group, and Pete Buttigieg group all get together?
Well, that's an interesting thing, and I believe this also kind of touches upon, like when you were talking about Mr. Andrew Yang over there. I believe CNN had a poll the other day that like 42% of folks that were supporting Andrew Yang would not support one of the other candidates, and he has been surging over the past week or two, so it would be very interesting, and at least according to, who is this? This is some dude named James Rowe. I'm not sure if it is the acclaimed actor, but CNN reporting Grinnell, Iowa Caucus sites had to make Biden group give up their seats to make room for Sanders supporters. So if that is if that is true, according to this gentleman on Twitter, apologies for assuming gender, but that does kind of lead that certain areas are leading Sanders. Continue.
Well, I'm curious because I want to know what you, Dodge, and MC have to say about this. Do you think if all the Gabbard groupies, the Yang gang, the Bernie bros, and whoever the hell is following Buttigieg, if they all get shafted by the DNC and it ends up with a Warren or Biden nomination, do you think they'll actually vote for Trump? Just out of spite? Or do you think they just won't vote? That's what I'm really curious about, because that could really screw the DNC.
I'm hearing.
First off, is that better? I haven't messed with my settings on the mic at all. It's my usual settings. I was closer to it because of the kids. Is that better?
That's a little better, even just the hair more.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I should just bow out because I'm not figuring out what's going on with the mic.
No, give your piece, man.
Just go to your Windows settings and lower it a bit. That's lower the gain. It's not going to hurt anything. But now, as far as shafting, okay, I put out I put out a stream, right, where I try to explain that to people that Bernie Sanders, no matter what happens with Bernie Sanders, he's not going to get shafted by the DNC. He's not a Democrat. Okay?
Well, that is a point.
Okay, he's not a Democrat. He's not claimed to be a Democrat. In fact, the very fact that he's on the ballot, the DNC is already ignoring its own rules.
Yes, they are.
Okay,
welcome, Mitch, by the way. Go on.
So the idea that somehow Bernie Sanders he's going to get shafted by the DNC again, he's not a Democrat. Okay, he's gaming the system. Right? So the idea that somehow, they gamed the system against Bernie. Bernie gamed the system to even be there.
Oh, please.
You disagree?
No, the DNC and Bernie engaged in an exchange in 2016 is what happened. No one got gamed. It was a deal that they made.
Okay.
And this time around, I'm pretty sure that Bernie just wants to see if they'll pay for a pool in that house they bought him last time.
I'm not quite that cynical about the situation. I don't disagree with some of those points, though. All right. The thing is that the idea that somehow putting what's his name, Bloomberg, on the stage. Okay, did they put Bloomberg in the caucus? No, because he didn't register. He didn't register for Iowa. He didn't register for New Hampshire. So if he's going to win the Democrat nomination, then he is going to have to really do well in other states. He's going to have to sit up there and do good in the Super Tuesday states,
which he won't, unless it's rigged.
Okay, now, here's the other thing that everyone is fearing on the Democrat side is that you walk into the convention in a contested manner, right, where nobody has the overwhelming majority to win on the first ballot. Because how is the DNC primary structured? Whoever can get it on the first ballot, okay, that's all well and good. But if nobody has an outright 51% or 50.1% total to win it on the first ballot, guess what comes into play? All the super delegates.
Yep.
Right. Well, there's even been talk about potentially even changing that for the first ballot, and that's something a lot of folks really, even my progressive, more hippie-ish friends, as soon as I pointed that out to them, they're like, "Yeah, I heard about that." They didn't seem to be none too pleased.
Well, I mean, that's because the DNC is talking about how they want to change the rules. Okay, well, like I said, the DNC has done this how many different times? No, what gets me about these same people who get upset about this, it's like, okay, if you think that changing the rules midstream or at the end because you screwed up and you're not going to win this, well, then you tell me how you justify Frank Lautenberg, all right, returning to the Senate, all right, to take Torricelli's seat.
Well, if you want a contemporary example, there's the whole impeachment thing. If you want to talk about inventing rules out of nothing in the middle of proceedings, there you go. This is just par for the course for these people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, as far as I know, that's one of the reasons why Representative Tulsi Gabbard stepped down as a vice chair from the DNC back about 4 years ago.
Oh, don't be fooled by her. She's just as pro-tyranny as the rest of them.
Yeah, but she voted for the impeachment inquiry, didn't she?
The inquiry,
she voted to send it forward too, right?
I believe she voted present. For the actual articles,
which is just cowardly.
Yeah, she voted present. She really just should have voted no because she already knew she was. Let's be honest. If Tulsi really wanted to give the DNC the middle finger and be like, "Yeah, you guys are all corrupt," she would have voted no.
Well, yeah. Okay, what would have no vote?
No. Okay, you guys, that's kind of ridiculous. She's doing the same thing politically that Rand Paul did politically. He does not back Donald Trump. Do you think he backs him up at all? No, he doesn't. He's playing the game.
They're
That's
all
what
playing
they
the
have to
game.
do.
I mean, let's face it, the Bill of Rights is an override. It's not simply these are things you cannot do. It is quite simply these are things you cannot do, Congress.
The Bill of Rights is yes.
Yeah, it's an override for the rest of the Constitution. Any place it says in amendments after Articles 1 through 10 in the Bill of Rights, any amendment after that says Congress has the authority to blah, blah, blah through appropriate legislation. Well, appropriate legislation is determined by the Bill of Rights. If that legislation in any way infringes upon the Bill of Rights, then it's not appropriate legislation and it needs to be thrown out.
Well, but the problem is, of course,
Well-
that attitude is that it's left up to the judiciary to determine that.
Well, and not
No,
to pivot, not
no,
to
it
pivot
isn't.
too much here, and mess up Memes' thing he's got going here. But don't you think even this Iowa thing is just distracting from Virginia? I'm sorry, Virginia's still over there trampling on the Constitution. Have we forgotten about that?
I haven't.
Well,
I've been saying that Virginians need to get off their asses and actually do something about getting those people out of office. Governor
Virginia
Northam and the legislature.
earned their place with this. I have no sympathy for what's going on in Virginia. I've known a lot of people in the state of Virginia. Believe it or not, there's a lot of military retirees in Virginia. And a lot of them are the kind of squishy moderates that Memes is. Okay?
hey,
Where
I haven't been
they-
to the gym in a while.
All right,
After that, huh?
What I mean by squishy, I don't mean physically means
Oh,
by any stretch of the imagination. I'm
they
talking
call me the Stay
Memes
Puft
left his
Marshmallow
turtle
Man.
shell in the other room.
wanting to play this game, but the one thing that they were all adamant about was the Second Amendment rights, and none of them were believing, all right, that the Democrats will never sit up there and try and take away gun rights. Well, now you got a problem.
MC,
the
real
funny
quick,
thing.
this is my wheelhouse. As someone who lives in the state of Virginia, yeah, I know plenty of people that didn't think this was going to happen. And I told them, you're a fool if you don't think this isn't going to happen. Have you been paying attention? Well, let's go ahead and watch it fucking happen. Maybe you'll remember that next time when you go to the ballot box.
I do remember something about thousands of people, many of whom were armed, that were at what I remember being a peaceful protest, and
Tens
some
of
people,
thousands.
and a lot of people were also cleaning up trash as well, which is also a plus. That's the thing, maintaining discipline and everything, because we all
That's
know it
proper
only takes.
gun control.
Well, that's the thing. It's responsible firearms ownership and everything like that. All I know is I heard something as far as Virginia goes. People talking about a recall. The last time I remember a governor being recalled was actually in California, I believe. Was it
Gray Davis, I believe.
Gray Davis? Yes, he was removed, and then coincidentally, I think was it Governor Brown or something had come back after like 20 or something years.
Well, the governor
No, I think
took over from
Schwarzenegger
that.
won
Oh,
that. Schwarzenegger got in after Gray Davis.
Was that not a bellwether for the fact that we really like celebrities? And since we elected Arnold Schwarzenegger, was Donald Trump really that far out of the realm of possibility?
So celebrities are uniquely placed to a point, okay, because of name recognition. Name recognition is always something that's very, very important. Okay, for a variety of people. If you've got good name recognition, regardless of whether or not you're technically an actor or an actress celebrity or a celebrity from some other means, all right, you have an advantage. All right, for example, and I'll give you an off-the-wall example from our past is there is no way in hell, okay, Eisenhower ever becomes president if he isn't known. Okay,
Well,
now was
Ronald
he an
Reagan,
actor? Was he an actor? No, he was well known simply because of World War II. No, well, what'd you say, Mitch? I missed what you said.
Well, Ronald Reagan as well. I mean,
Well,
he
right,
was
but
an actor.
Ronald Reagan was an actor, though. I was talking.
but
about
I'm just backing up the name recognition argument.
Yeah, name recognition is massively important. All right,
God, yes.
and you can't undersell it. Now, does it mean everything? No. But let's be honest. Does George W. Bush become president if George Herbert Walker Bush wasn't president?
No.
Yeah, but on the same coin, or the other side of the same coin,
Didn't work for
MC,
Jeb either.
does
Sorry.
Thomas Jefferson become president in the TV era? Probably not. Does John Adams? Probably not.
Do people
You
recognize
know what I
their
mean?
names though? That's the thing. That's what MC
Yeah,
is really
but
hitting
the
me on.
looks, though, you have the Nixon-JFK debate going on again, right? You know, so...
Okay, yes and no. I mean, the idea that people aren't smart enough to look past that, I disagree with it. Okay, you don't have to be a good-looking person to become president. Otherwise you don't have Johnson, whether you like it or not. Johnson won election. Okay.
The thing is, the TV camera alters that somewhat.
It has an
its
effect.
presence. I mean, during the OJ trial, the first time he was on trial, the prosecutor, Marcia something or other. Marcia Clark, yes. First day in that thing with the cameras rolling, she was dressed as a legal professional. Once the cameras became a thing and it became a big news story, well, she started getting all dolled up to go in there.
So you're talking about on the NBC debate where all of a sudden Representative Gabbard seemed to have a mysterious mole that was appearing and disappearing in the same debate that Mr. Yang's mic seemed to not always be working?
Well, things of that nature, yeah. But some of that is shenanigans. Some of it is just, you get into a thing and you see that there's a camera. Well, you want to look good for the camera. Therefore, your attention is divided. Now, when you get the likes of Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and all these people in that kind of an arena where suddenly there's a camera present and they understand the ramifications of that camera being present, things are going to change a little bit.
Oh, so you mean like people on the internet?
It's not that they didn't understand the role of media. Let's be perfectly honest.
Oh yeah, they did. I mean, a lot of them were a lot of them own newspapers.
Okay, and
but you had somebody like MC, like John Adams. He's a total fucking narcissist, but he was also an introvert at the same time, where he was just so closed into his own little world, where he didn't even show up after the election. Remember? Like, he just, noped out of there and left Washington. He's like, no, I'm just not even going to show up, and hand it off to Thomas Jefferson.
Well,
Screw him.
It's a special case.
Right.
Compare all to what was going on. You have to, but if you're going to talk about, could Thomas Jefferson, could Patrick Henry, could some of these other guys stand the strain? Okay, it was a different time frame. There are different people. Would they have come to light? All right, who knows? All right, you would have to wait and see. That's something that we don't know about. But as far as their ability to deal with the fact that there's a camera and everything, I honestly think that if growing up, that they would, in this era, they would have no problem being the same. Being if they maintained the discipline and the drive to go ahead, that they still would go forward as politicians. I have no doubt that they would become politicians. Now, it's a different era. It's a different set of rules. It's a different set of circumstances. But I guarantee you that when they talk about people who have the drive to succeed, that has far more importance to what happens than anything specifically.
Right. And just to highlight, this is being tweeted out by Kyle Kalinske from Secular Top. Both sleepy and low energy is his tweet. Apparently, Joe Biden has he has the support of 3 people in Cedar Falls, Iowa. So there is some support there. Okay, just wanted to highlight that.
So he's suggesting it's sleepy, dopey, and sneezy, or?
All right, what do you notice here, though? Look at
There are only so many people.
Well, no, and I would say what I'm noticing is the fact that the caucus system puts you on the spot. to where they know they're the only 3 people sitting there for that candidate, right? So that's making them feel bad. It's almost like the guilt treatment, right?
You know what's really frustrating about all of this stuff?
That's not what I noticed with that. What I noticed is the fact that I'm sorry for. Go ahead, Mitch. I interrupted.
Oh no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
What I noticed is show me grandma, show me grandpa, show me the elderly.
That's a good point. It's a very large voting demographic.
Yep. But what I was going to say is that the really sad thing here is that for all the airtime expended on these people, I don't care what party they're affiliated with. I think party politics is just one more way to divide and conquer, to be honest. But the sad part is they're never confronted by people who have pro-liberty ideas, and the people who can back those ideas up. I mean, you'll never see someone like me on air confronting Bernie Sanders as part of the staged debate.
Well, what about the whole thing with Joe the plumber back a number of years ago as well? Because it occasionally doesn't. I understand what you're saying, that very often there may be selected questions. Heck, one of the Tulsi Gabbard rally or town hall that I went to, I mean, even there, I could imagine that there was at least maybe 1 or 2 people that were selected for particular reasons. I can't confirm this, but it was things that made me go,
a certain demographic requirement.
Well, I mean that doesn't surprise me, but according to this young lady, Jenny Dees on Twitter, CNN just reported they had to remove the Joe Biden section in Iowa Caucus, citing Grinnell. Well, that's the same thing that we had heard before, to make more room for the Bernie Sanders section because it was too big. All right, let's go to the Iowa caucuses.
It's just sad. I mean, you know, the
Andrew Yang picked up a delegate.
Oh, groovy.
Cool.
Who do you trust to moderate these debates and all of this stuff? I mean, you can't trust the media to do it. We know they're bought and paid for.
Oh, you could have I disagree with you. You could. This is. It's a bugaboo of mine. Don't get me wrong. In a lot of ways, I agree with you, Mitch. But the real problem with it is that what is a debate? What we have and what they call modern debates today are not modern debates.
No, because they never stay on topic.
Well, who gets to decide the topic to begin with?
Right.
Okay. It's a question and answer session from people rather than I'm Donald Trump. Well, Bernie, since you're my opponent in this case, tell everybody what you did with this. And then Bernie gets to come back and, well, there, you fat ass orange man. What did you do about that? That's a debate.
Oh, right? You mean like what would we do here? Yeah.
Okay. No, well, but it's important for people to get a feel, because there's too many times, all right, and I have seen it since the 80s, where the quote unquote moderators avoid and throw softballs to one while they try to grill the other.
Yep.
Even freaking what's her name from Fox News,
Megyn Kelly,
right? Went after Trump during her debate, all right, with a kind of vitriol that she reserved strictly for that man.
And what happened?
Well, it's not a matter of what happened or not. It's a matter of did the public really get to see a debate? Did they really get to see what people's views are and how they coalesce or don't coalesce, all right, with you? Because if you want to find out what Mitch was talking about, especially the whole idea of who's really for liberty and who isn't for liberty, all right, let's be honest. You want to sit up there and do something? Put Trump against Elizabeth Warren and let Trump ask this question, all right? What is it about you and banning people on Twitter? And watch her go berserk. Right? Watch her come back and go, no, that's not true. I freaking demanded that they sit up there and let everybody speak on Twitter. I'm totally for free speech.
So you prefer more of verbal combat rather than, like you said, it often just it's just a standard question and answer that kind of keeps on changing and shifting between people.
It's not verbal. It's not verbal combat. It's don't let the personalities clash back and forth. Don't make it a finger-pointing contest. Actually deliberate based on ideas and what it is what your platform is. Like,
but let the
gaffe.
candidates come back with the ideas.
My thing is, here's the issue. Let's discuss the issue. Let's stay on topic. And if you go off topic, I'm muting your mic.
Well, actually, I'll give everybody a potential softball here.
Okay.
Why was it that when the Cheeto Man decided to come out and say, I don't need the presidential salary, I'm just going to donate it, and that made him a bad person? So he's supposed to take our taxpayer-funded salary, even though he's already a billionaire? That makes him bad?
Well,
he's spitting on the office of the presidency?
Requiring him to take pay.
He has to accept $1 at least.
Well, Mitt Romney was going to do the same thing.
But also, the tax money is still absorbed because he is donating his full salary.
Real quick, this is why I want to make the point. The fact that he's just taking it and throwing it away at least shows like
that he can afford to do it. That's what it shows.
Not even just that he can afford.
I'm not going to bash the man generally for stuff, and I don't disagree with your point there, Koku. But let's be honest: the only reason he's doing that is because he can afford to.
Oh, we know that. Like, don't get me wrong, we know that all good and well. But what he's showing is like, yeah, look, I'm not a career politician. I'm a self-made billionaire. I don't need the money. I'll put it to somewhere where I think it can go to better use. And he gets attacked over it.
Of course he does, because he's showing them that he can't be bought.
I mean, a lot of it, I think, comes down to, in my opinion, some sour grapes as well. Because, I mean, if folks are actually suffering from Trump anxiety disorder, I often figure, I'm like, well, can you really give a clear-minded take on things that, if it literally is a potential trigger or something that raises your blood pressure, maybe you should remove yourself from whatever is antagonizing you?
Well, real quick, the point where I was going with on that is let Trump get on stage with Bernie and ask him that simple question. How much of the presidential salary are you going to take? How much are you willing to accept? How much of it are you going to donate?
Yeah.
Watch Bernie lose his shit.
Yeah, well, I mean,
guarantee you would happen.
Well, yeah, because
you're kind of wealth shaming at that point.
Because he also needs a hot tub to go with that pool that the DNC might be installing this year.
Oh, and memes, real quick. No, it's not shaming. It's a valid question because Bernie, through his entire career, he's a career politician.
Right.
That's what he does. He gets paid by the taxpayer. It's not shaming. It's a valid question.
Well,
Bernie, I think
the more valid question was if he would get asked. And he's not going to get asked if he becomes the nominee. But one question he needs to be asked every single, every chance that gets happened to it is very simply, how come when you had the chance to pay your fair share, you didn't, but you're going to make sure that somebody else does? And he has to answer that. And he
would argue we all pay our fair share.
Well, then why are you trying to raise my taxes? Why are you saying we're not paying our fair share? So you see, he's already made these statements. The 1%ers aren't paying their fair share. So either they are or they aren't. What is it, Bernie?
Well, Bernie, and the thing is, Bernie, real quick, sorry, memes. Bernie is a 1%er, and for the entire time he's been in office, for all the things he's been preaching that he wants to raise our taxes for because it can make life better for us. What have you done, Bernie? We've been paying your salary this whole time. What have you actually accomplished? Nothing.
He's accomplished a career as a Larry David impersonator.
He's accomplished. You know what he's accomplished? He's accomplished this.
I know, memes.
That's all he's ever accomplished.
Memes, you're just upset because I said that because what I said was funny.
Oh no, it was humorous. And actually, their impersonations of one another was humorous. Yeah. Well, here's the thing: people would actually say it's like Senator Sanders has been consistent for 30 plus years. But you got to give the guy that. You can disagree with him, but at least as far as his principles go, as far as I realize, I just triggered the MC. But
30 years of being pro-tyranny. That's a yay, Bernie.
Well, I mean, you're entitled to your view.
He's consistent. Yeah, you're right there. He's consistent, but what has he actually accomplished for the American people that hasn't benefited himself? This is the analogy I like to use. if you're going to go for government provided this or government provided that, or let's be honest, taxpayer funded, what are you doing? You're paying the salary of a bunch of fucking bureaucrats and politicians sitting on Capitol Hill or whatever town hall it is, or whoever runs your localized government, and they're basically taking your money through you from the form of taxes, spending it however they see fit, and then you're getting the fucking table scraps. That's what it is.
I say that of any politician.
Well, why don't I just keep my own money and let the government do its job and not expand it anymore, so that I can maybe go to the free market and get something that's better quality and probably more affordable? Because, you know, a somewhat regulated, and yes, regulation does need to happen so we don't end up with monopolies and trust. I'll give you that.
Reasonable regulation.
But why don't I just get the chance to actually spend my money how I see fit instead of telling the government to spend it however they see fit, because I can't be allowed to spend it because they think I'm fucking stupid. That's what Bernie is advocating for. So no, screw you. I would rather keep my own money rather than let some person with 3 houses and a freaking yacht decide that, oh, well, no, if the people are lining up the bread lines are working. No, screw you. I'll go buy my own bread. Fuck off.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing. You have the ability, but not everybody.
There's two things that I'm going to get to. First of all, we'll start with the number one. What principles does Bernie have? What principles does Bernie have?
Stay out of foreign entanglements.
No, that's not been one of his things, because he
didn't vote against the Iraq War?
Huh?
He didn't vote against the Iraq War?
So what?
Okay.
So he didn't vote against that war. Tell me, did he vote to defund it during the entire Obama administration?
I have no idea.
The answer is no. And yes, you do know this. Okay.
So you mean because then you vote okay, once you're there, maybe you should actually fund the folks that are there and try to get them body armor. Because all I know is my cousin still had to buy his own freaking body armor out of his own paycheck.
Yeah, that is an issue. I'm not going to deny that, but that's an issue for Congress. You can want to bitch about that from Congress and get that stuff taken care of.
But you could say that. But you could say that's a principle right there. It's like if our troops are actually there, you're going to support the troops. But he didn't do that. What did he do? He went around bad-mouthing the country, all right, and bad-mouthing our troops over there. He was one step behind good old frickin' Kerry, calling the frickin' troops that went over there to say that we were terrorizing people, and we shouldn't be going out there and terrorizing people. So that isn't his principle. Was he attacking the troops or the Bush administration?
What?
Was he attacking the troops or the Bush administration?
No, he was attacking the Bush administration through the troops. Just like he always does.
Did he specifically say that these troops are committing all of this, or was it the orders that they were given while they were doing their job?
The troops are the troops. The troops don't sit up there and come back and say, okay, well, what orders? You don't have President Bush, just like you don't have President Obama, generally listing, going, I'm giving you this specific order. They're far more generic than that, and you know that means. Bernie Sanders is another America-hating leftist, and he has been his entire career. His principles have been to tear apart this country, to bring on the socialist revolution. That is a consistent principle that he's had. But you trying to avoid, all right, and put the best foot forward on it, on what has been his consistent policy of running over to Nicaragua with the Sandinistas, all right, and talking about how evil America is, his comments about Venezuela and how it should be a model for how the United States should work, belies the fact that you're ignoring what his real principles are. Means
that he wants a political revolution that he's been saying for a while now.
He wants a socialist.
You can feel free to disagree.
Okay, but where is it, Means? Well, how come that wasn't first and foremost in the principles?
What's that?
How come it wasn't first and foremost for you to describe his principles?
Oh, well, your principles or my definitions you don't usually like.
Well, no. It has nothing to do with that, Means. It has to do with the fact that you're trying to hide who Bernie really is. You don't want to bring out how bad the man really is.
Oh, well, I like Bernie.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Do I agree with him on everything? Oh, of course I don't. But that's the thing.
Why do you like Bernie?
Oh, well, I mean, aside from the size of those mitts and everything there, he actually seems like a wholesome individual that I believe many of the American people like him because they're like, even if they don't necessarily agree with him, it's like he has been consistent. You could argue he's been consistently bad over the years. I mean, that's your assessment. Perfectly fine. But the thing is, he has been consistent. He has been saying the same things. He has stood up for civil rights.
He's been saying, all right, it goes along with the people he hired. People who want to put Americans in gulags to get their minds right.
Gulags.
Well, the individuals that while they were maybe or maybe not on dates while sloshed up and perhaps being egged on, said some highly concerning things.
All right,
people
pause.
that are
real
on
quick.
his payroll, that are still on his payroll.
Oh, pause real quick. So, if he disagreed with those things, or his campaign disagreed with those things, why hasn't his campaign come out, enforced, and denounced it?
Because then they would be validating Project Veritas. I mean, if we were going to just ask about political reasons why not to, it's just you just don't acknowledge it.
Well, Veritas is already validated because we have the audio. It's been spread around long enough. If you were smart and you didn't believe those things, come out and denounce it. It's sort of like saying, well, I'm not gonna denounce ISIS, or I'm not gonna denounce Al Qaeda, or I'm not gonna denounce Hezbollah. Well, if you're not denouncing it, you're not endorsing it, but you're not saying it's bad. If you really care, denounce it.
This is a lot different. The Veritas stuff is a hell of a lot different than saying, okay, well, so-and-so endorsed you. I would agree if somebody from the KKK came out and said, yeah, I'm endorsing Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders doesn't need to answer that. Nobody does. Okay?
You mean like when candidate Trump was like, I don't know anything about David Duke. And he just kind of brushed that off.
Just ignored it. You know, that kind of stuff, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, but I do have a problem when there are people on your staff that you've hired, and it's not just one, it's not just a couple, all right, it's at least 4 people or more. All right, this is a significant problem now, Beans, especially when you don't fire these individuals and you just tell everybody, don't say anything anymore. All that's trying to do is cover it up.
So, MC, did I ever say that the left didn't have problems?
I'm not talking about the left. We're talking about Bernie Sanders, okay? And we're talking about Bernie Sanders' principles and the fact that you don't want to sit up there and tell everybody what his true core principles are.
Well, I'm not Bernie Sanders.
Well, if you were Bernie Sanders,
hold on, before you say that, then how can you say he's consistent?
Oh.
You don't know if he's consistent on any principles then, right, Beans?
Well, a lot of folks have been saying he's consistent. I haven't heard a lot of folks saying it. I'm sorry, I'm not omnipresent, MC.
Uh-huh.
Well,
I'm not a 1960s beta-based AI. I don't have all the connections you do.
Well, in memes, if you were Bernie Sanders, if you did not hold what these people said, these people who are working under your campaign, if what they said did not go against your core principles, if you did not think what they said is abhorrent or a dangerous ideology to hold, why would you not come out and denounce it?
So,
I can answer that.
Go on.
And I'm going to answer it really quick, and it's a secret that we don't learn in our society anymore because they've done away with the civics classes and whatnot, or at least they've reduced them to a shambles at this point. But the truth of the matter is that if you compromise with tyranny, you are pro-tyranny. These people who work for the Sanders campaign, who said these things about the gulags and all that nonsense. Remember, free education is just 2 letters away from re-education. That's one thing you got to remember. But the sad truth is that by not getting rid of these people, he may not be endorsing or condemning their behavior, but he is condoning it.
Now, here's the thing. I believe kind of Occam's razor here, in that the simplest answer is often the easiest. When you're a couple of weeks away from your initial primaries, if you start engaging in this, all of a sudden you made an issue. If no one else is making an issue, why would you do something that is going to politically hinder you? I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying it's an answer.
I can think of one reason to do so. And it's I'm sorry, Memes, but it's an answer you're not gonna like. The only reason to do so is for the sake of your integrity.
Principles.
No, that's fair. Not like I said, it's an answer. I didn't say it was the greatest answer. And Steve Bear thinks UMC sound like Alex Jones. I'm not sure if that's a clip at MC or Alex Jones.
And real quick, wouldn't it be more of a political hindrance to not denounce, saying throwing people in the gulags and re-education camps and how it wasn't really that bad? Isn't that more damaging?
Well, actually, here, Mr. Gamer 900 Elko Studio brings up a very valid point. He says, no, he's not, dude. He went from needing borders to now being open borders. That definitely is a concern, as well as I believe his stance on the Second Amendment as well seems to have shifted as well. It does seem like he's either become, some may say, taking a more progressive stance as well, because I do remember at least about 4 years or so ago, Bernie pretty much laid it out. It's like the country mouse is different than the city mouse and their perspectives on things. And I thought that was an actually pretty moderate thing to say because, lived experience is different.
No, that's not moderate. That's pro-tyranny.
Okay.
The rights codified in the Bill of Rights doesn't change based on geography, except if you go outside of the United States of America.
Well, no. That's the thing. No, you're free to argue that point. But aside from making this the bash on Bernie show,
that's what is. I mean,
I don't really disagree. See, this is why I consider myself a pathfinder, which in modern vernacular I'd say I'm more of a liberal Democrat that believes in progress. I believe a lot of that progress, personally, in my opinion, can be achieved by saying the first plus second help make us free, and then we can actually have discussions about other things such as healthcare, which apparently seems to be the number one policy issue in Iowa by about 41% of folks there. That is a concern because, like we were talking about before, something about watching Americans cross over into Canada to then purchase U.S. manufactured drugs means the system needs to be addressed. Now, whether that's via private means, whether that's public means, or some combination of the two, we can argue about that all day long. But as far as the Iowa caucuses go, let's did we have any updates? Chat.
Okay,
what is going on?
Hold on a second, because there's something else that I was curious about. I wanted
Okay.
to reconfirm what I thought was correct in my own mind.
Okay.
All right. You say that Bernie Sanders has changed his mind on the Second Amendment. Did he or did he not support the assault weapons ban from Bill Clinton's time?
Oh, he
when
probably
was in
did.
Congress. Okay, so he hasn't. He's always been a gun grabber, hasn't he?
Well, I mean that's one way you could look at it, I suppose.
Well, you were the one that was just praising him for consistency, and now you're saying, well, he wasn't really consistent on that rule, but in actuality, when push comes to shove, he was pretty consistent on it. You see, this is the problem, and I'm going to go back to something we were talking about earlier. This is the problem with the fact that we don't have debates, okay? Because there are views out there that are driven and narratives that are driven by the mainstream media that people never get to learn about a candidate. On gun control, for example, it would be quite important. It would have been very important in the Republican Party to have listened to the different views of the different people coming up, all right, for whether or not they're pro Second Amendment or not. Yet that was never really asked, and you're not able to probe it, all right, from your opponent.
So, of the previous two presidents, including President Trump, what actions have President Obama or President Trump taken? Which one of them has actually restricted 2A rights?
Which what? Say that again.
President Obama has done more to restrict Second Amendment rights than President Trump.
Didn't President Trump do that whole bump stock thing, which is perhaps a violation of the Sixth Amendment as well, because now you're violating ex post facto by making something illegal that wasn't before.
All right, who sit up there and tried to install a weapons license, all right, for ammo?
Right, and did President Obama succeed in that?
Yeah, in a lot of ways he did.
It wasn't solely President Obama, though. It was a bunch of the Democrats and Republicans signed on to it too. And
no, I don't disagree with you.
No.
He's not doing it nobody's doing this in isolation per se. All right, we don't have a king,
right.
Regardless of what people think about president of the president of the United States. He's not a king. They have limited power to do things. Now, a lot of the power that they have is limited by people if they want to try and stop them, meaning Congress. If Congress truly wants to stop something that a president wants to do, all right, they have a whole lot of mechanisms to utilize to do that. In general, however, Congress has acquiesced to the seizing of power, including legislative power, all right, by the president, and that is regardless of whose party was involved, all right, and that is one major problem that I have now. How do you fix that? I've been thinking about this for a while, and somebody made a suggestion that I tend to, I think that is correct. We need to go back and we need to expand the House of Representatives with the numbers. The numbers within the House of Representatives.
We have breaking news from The Onion as of 2 minutes ago. 600-pound butter cow sculpture wins Iowa Caucus, according to The Onion on Twitter.
I can see that. But
Okay.
now, MC, what I was getting at was it wasn't what we would normally think of as firearms legislation that I was talking about with President Obama and Congress in office at that time. I was talking about the Affordable Care Act.
Yes, the Affordable Care Act did go out of its way to try and restrict guns and things like that. That is true.
Not in that way. There was so much more to it than that.
There was red flag laws that were part of it and everything. No, I'm aware of it.
No, I'm going beyond even that, because the Second Amendment is not exclusively about firearms. It's right there, dead center in the middle of the amendment. No one really ever talks about it. It's those two words, free state.
Oh, the camera argument. I remember we were talking about this the other day. That is very interesting. Go on.
Well, with the Affordable Care Act, they started. They also implemented the tax and fines and whatnot if you couldn't afford to buy health insurance. Well, that's tyranny, man. That's not what a free state looks like.
Well, no, I agree with that part, but we were talking strictly the Second Amendment with Bernie in this case. I don't disagree with you.
Well, true.
You also got to remember
think
that the Affordable Care Act is just that. It was legislation.
Yeah, and tyranny requires legislation to thrive.
Well, to give it the cover of legitimacy.
Well, legislation, policy, terms of service, all of these things
But
are what tyranny requires to, like you said, have the veneer of legitimacy.
Well, that's the thing, and we are at a point now where just our bureaucracy's just grown so much that you could also make the argument that if all of a sudden you just start tearing it all away and stuff, you may actually not be promoting for the general welfare, this, that, and you may actually harm things. So you have to retune things. And again, maybe that's just because I'm more viewed as a dirty moderate or something. I believe we can do reforms. Oh, well, that's fine. Well, I'll wear it with pride.
I would still say that the Bill of Rights serves as an override against the general welfare. The welfare clause.
The welfare clause should have been limited by the states. The states have the power to do a lot of the things that you're relying upon the quote unquote federal government to do. And that's one of the problems.
Well, no, and this is one of the things that I say to like a lot of my comrades on the left. It's like, I say that if we can achieve these ends, if we can do it on a state-by-state basis, and that was one of my big criticisms of the President Obama on the Affordable Care Act, because he basically said, oh, Mitt, Obamacare is like 90% Romney care. I'm like, all right, full pause right here. That's like me copy and pasting my high school essay on World War II and submitting that for my doctoral thesis. I may have written a badass essay in high school, but to assume what's going to work for Massachusetts is going to work for Florida, California, North Dakota, Alabama, there's just so many other factors. I believe the states in and of themselves should do that. And I just want to touch upon what Biden Touch says in the chat there about the bump stocks. The argument for the bump stocks is it was an accessory. That's also how states like my own state, which is not a state but a commonwealth, basically we have, I believe it's a 10-round magazine limit because it's viewed as an accessory. So continue.
Well, but the problem with it is that it's an overreach, all right, from a regulatory standpoint.
Now, the second you tell me what I can and can't buy, you're keeping me out of a free state, is my argument. But
well, you're going to have limits on that no matter what. I mean, the idea that you can have unlimited purchase potential and that you should be able to purchase anything and everything, right? Well, you can also make that same claim by, well, if I bribe this person, I can get this. So that should be good. That should be all well and good as well. And you can't have bribery. Okay, you can take any of those arguments and expand them to the extremes, and they fall apart.
But don't we have lobbying?
What is okay?
Real quick before we move on, I just want to ask something because this irks me. So a magazine is considered an accessory. How is a magazine-fed weapon going to chamber around if it's a magazine-fed weapon? It's not a bolt action. It's not pump action. It's not a muzzle loader. It's a magazine-fed weapon.
All you can do is
how is the
feed it
magazine
each time the weapon cycles? Feed it manually.
I mean,
It's the only way.
yes, you could, but that still is not, at least in my humble opinion, that doesn't qualify the magazine, let alone the magazine size, as an accessory.
I agree.
Oh, that's a fair point. I'm just not sure if there's
So
been
for
any court
magazines, I would
precedent
agree,
set.
but bump stocks aren't magazines.
If I may, I've got a show in 10 minutes, so I have to split. It's good to talk to everyone, and I hope to get to talk with everyone again pretty soon because this is fun.
Later,
All right.
Mitch.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
coming,
guys.
Mitch. Appreciate it, man. We'll see you.
Thanks, Mitch. Have a good show, dude.
Giggity. Thanks.
But all right, back to the caucuses. I'm seeing people, and again, more lefties, saying that 35% of caucus goers are new, have never caucused before. So that could bode well for Mr. Sanders as well as Mr. Yang, I would reckon. Let's see. Dodgeball rules.
Well,
Okay.
the energy is important, right? Especially when you're making that kind of a claim. Energy is important, and whether anybody wants to admit this or not, I mean, right now, Sanders has the energy. That's shown by the fact that he's got draw.
Right. Oh, well, that's the thing, and that's one of the reasons why I think Andrew Yang has done more well, because albeit he is a candidate that doesn't go around wearing a tie, even at the debates, to many people's chagrin and everything. He also, as you posted, was doing whippets with folks. But that's the thing, it's energy. It's something that's different, that's novel. It's also not President Trump, which is not the greatest thing to campaign on, and even Andrew Yang has said that President Trump is not the problem, he's a symptom of an underlying problem. So that's the thing, because you can only bash on the president so much, because it's like, okay, you can say what you're against, and I guess that's fine, but what are you actually for? And that's the thing. Senator Sanders, whether you like his proposal or not, he has proposed things. Mr. Yang has proposed things. That's the thing.
So far at the satellite caucuses in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the first round goes as follows. Well, great. Well, who cares about Cambridge, Massachusetts?
Wait, what?
I'm
Oh,
reading your Twitter.
what's on the satellite? I don't even know how that works. Okay, that's the line 32 caucus update after the second alignment. Sanders 77. Ooh, Buttigieg at 22.7. Okay, that's. I also don't know how many people are there as well. The caucus system, according to this individual, takes a long time. Disenfranchises people prone to errors. Scrape British to choose off. You never. Oh, jeez. Wow. Very interesting.
Well, it must be the freaking Democrats voting. I'm falling asleep.
Well, no. I like this number because this also echoes something that Tim Pool was kind of saying earlier. It's like Twitter is not real life. Monday edition. 80% of Iowa caucus voters say they do not use Twitter for political news. What does that say about us?
I would like to know how many of these people are on Twitter and compare that to how many
What?
GOP
Well, no,
are on
no.
Twitter. No. It
No,
would be
and
interesting to know.
MC, was the poll done on Twitter?
It's very interesting.
But I would like to know the difference between the numbers of Democrats on Twitter versus the numbers of GOP on Twitter. All right, in Iowa, that would be quite interesting.
And I kind of want to debate Steve Bear in the chat here a little bit. Yeah, you can load a round into the breech. If it's a magazine-fed weapon, I don't care if it's 5 rounds, 10, I don't care if it's 30. If it's a magazine-fed weapon, I still don't consider the magazine to be an accessory. Why not just have a breech-fed weapon at that point in time? Why even have a magazine-fed weapon?
Well, then we start getting into the whole discussion of whether NBC should own nuclear weapons.
Well, last I checked, NBC was a news corporation.
Excuse me. My apologies. I meant Nabisco. My apologies to NBC.
Well, no. I actually have a question, and I was next time I did a red eye, I was gonna bring this up, but fuck it, we'll do it here. Okay, so you have the election cycle ramping up, right? And then you have Eminem drop the new album where he's going straight lefty. He did a song about the Las Vegas shooting, for God's sake. Okay, yeah, he did. And then you have people like Tom McDonald dropping albums, going out for the right, and they're still in the same genre. They're still in hip hop. You have country music. You have, pop. Everybody is going to be ramping up for the election year. Is everybody just taking their sides or what?
Well, according to this individual here, who is on Twitter at Victoria Brownsworth, according to the precinct in Des Moines, where there are people of color caucusing with Warren and Bernie, Warren, this is actually kind of lining up with what MC was kind of saying. Warren's at 30.1%, Buttigieg at 25.3%, Sanders at 25.1%, Yang at 8.3%, Klobuchar at 6%, Biden at 4%. I have no idea how accurate that is, but that would be very interesting. And again, that's at a precinct in Des Moines, so if you don't know, perhaps Senator Warren has spent a good deal of time there, if that is accurate.
Warren has spent quite a bit of time in Iowa.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of surprised Biden's the lowest. I know his gaffes have kind of screwed him over a little bit, but...
Okay.
Well, it's just a single precinct, and it's just a single data point, so it's kind of hard to actually judge its validity, all right, although it could be a harbinger. All right, it shows you, though, that whether he was there or not, the impeachment controversy, I'm going to use that word in this case, all right, to get people to understand it, has hurt Biden quite badly. The whole impeachment, the idea that impeachment could divorce itself from, with the way it was being handled, from Biden, and that Biden's name wouldn't be dragged into the mud. Biden has been getting questions. Biden has been getting, catching flack for what's been going on that he technically has nothing to do with. All right. So in a lot of ways, this impeachment scandal has actually harmed Biden, all right, in the Democratic primaries, because people are looking at it and going, okay, we don't need another. We already lost once because we supported a corrupt candidate named Hillary Clinton. Do we really want to go for corrupt candidate number 2 in Joe Biden? And I think it's weighing on people more than they want to admit.
People have questions. Well, again, I would argue with the accuracy of that, but no, people do have questions. But are Skittles bribery?
Yes, actually, technically they are, absolutely. Yeah, you can't offer any gifts at all at a caucus or a primary. But no, that being said, what do you guys think about Hillary Clinton coming out and saying, if I was running, I would win? Like, the balls on this bitch, right? Like, you can't even...
Does anybody believe that?
H.A. Goodman. That's his big gamble going.
Real quick, first off, if Hillary Clinton believes that, then it means she still thinks that she's polling, a few thousand people whenever she does a book signing or a speech. No, she's a loon and she's delusional and she's out of touch. No, she wouldn't. You had your chance. Sorry, you're done.
You can't even walk down the street without having a seizure, bitch. Do you have sickle cell or some shit? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Let's be nice.
Real quick, dodge and memes. Steve Bear, I get your point. I understand. I don't agree, but it is a valid point, so I'll give you that.
Right.
That I just wanted to address Steve real quick, since I did call him out. It's the polite thing to do. I get your point. Right. And yes, Hillary Clinton is a fucking loon if she believes that she'd actually win. No, you won't.
Oh, and memes. That was a Tupac line I was quoting there from "Hit 'Em Up." Yeah. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Screw you,
In my
buddy.
graph.
Yeah.
No, but that would be an
Yeah.
interesting debate to have with maybe Udoku and Steve Bear at some point in the future. I would love to have some words on that. But actually, this right here. Now, again, if these results are are true at all, and they are reflecting what we're seeing, if we are seeing Senator Sanders kind of ahead at certain places. According to this, it's 24.2%, followed by Senator Elizabeth Warren at 21.22, and Mayor Pete Buttigieg at 19.27. If these patterns hold true, if Joe doesn't even take the top three, what are we thinking that might happen? Because I mean, he is the former vice president. He probably has some of the greatest name recognition across the entire country.
No,
He
yeah,
would have
MC, let me take this first. This is what I'll tell you, memes. Look at Ron Paul, in 2012. Ron Paul, came out first at the Iowa Caucus, came out second or third in New Hampshire, and still washed out. I would say it actually helps Joe Biden to not win the caucus. Yeah, I said it.
Well,
Respond.
a caucus is in certain ways it's hard to say what this will do. All right, this is though a negative result. All right, you can't spin this as in a positive manner. It does show that the impeachment scandal has harmed Biden considerably. The question then is it over for Joe? No, but it is a harbinger that he could be in trouble. If he doesn't place high, like second in New Hampshire, it's very possible his campaign is over.
Well, the Biden touch in the chat is backing me up. It's statistically true that who wins Iowa often doesn't move on to win. I have a point here, right?
You do, but then again, this is you don't. The winner of Iowa isn't as important as to get it as a flesh to see who's to set the table of viability.
Well, it's also bragging rights.
Right, you at least got you know you're going to have a place at the table. If you win Iowa, right? If you win delegates, you have a place at the table. All right.
I'm just saying though, MC. I remember 2012. I remember being so psyched when Ron Paul won Iowa, dude. I was in there, man. I was like, yeah, and it all fell apart. You know what I mean? Like it didn't work.
But it has to do different meanings, different candidate, different. The GOP is not the Democrats. There are significant difference structurally in how they've structured their primaries. So it means different things in a certain way. However, in the past, for the Democrats, what has happened is people can do well in Iowa. They don't have to win. But if they don't then come back, if they do poorly in Iowa, and all of a sudden they do horribly in New Hampshire, then it's like, Katie barred the door. You're going down. You're in a death spiral. All right. If you do poorly in Iowa and all of a sudden it's a surge in New Hampshire, even if you just do a respectable second place, then all of a sudden it's like a comeback kid, a la Clinton, a la Bill. Okay. So is it the death now? No, but this is a bad result considering the fact that Warren and Sanders couldn't be in Iowa this entire time, okay? And yet Pete Buttigieg, which left the field open for him, Buttigieg and Yang, to constantly canvass the state, and they weren't able to pull in support. It's a worrying sign for them. It really is.
Actually, I have an interesting question that I haven't heard a lot of people bring up. A few days ago, when Biden said, "Whoever I consider as my VP has to be capable of taking over as president because, quote, quote, I'm an old man." Do you think that hurt any of the other older candidates like Warren, Trump, or Bernie? Because that's kind of a...
It's an honest answer, though.
It is honest. I'm not actually knocking him for it. It's legitimately 100% honest. It's a very valid point.
What I actually just saw here, according to NBC's reporting, is a lot of the folks that just decided in the past few days seem to kind of jump towards Mayor Pete. So that actually does appear to reflect in some of these what we've seen reported as polls, at least on Twitter.
Well, what's going on with Bloomberg not even putting up a respectable third? Like, where is
He's
he?
not on.
He's not on the ballot.
Oh, he didn't make it in Iowa? That's
No,
that's a
waiting.
bad sign.
Well, no, he did that intentionally. He when he jumped into the race, there was 2 states that he decided he wasn't even going to attempt to even try to get on the ballots with. Iowa was one of them, and New Hampshire was another. So he's not even going to be shown on the first 2 states as it comes up.
Don't you think that's kind of stupid? I don't know where he's
Actually, no,
going
it's-
with that.
No, it's smart. He's gonna let them eat their own, and then he's gonna come in and try to steal it at the last minute. That's what he's gonna do.
Right. Well, the thing is, he got in so late, and a lot of these candidates already spent time. So why would you go to the first 2 states, especially if you have the? Because a lot of this comes down to Iowa and New Hampshire is also campaign funding. So, like what MC said is, if Joe doesn't even happen to get within the top 3 in Iowa, if he doesn't even get a second or even potentially a third in New Hampshire, I mean, if his funding dries up, I mean, he might be an establishment candidate, but that's the thing. If you don't have the money to go on, then I still remember when Newt Gingrich, his $500 check in Arizona bounced. So you need the funding.
It just strikes me as weird because usually you're really aiming towards the first 4 or 5 states, right? Like nobody cares about Oregon. Nobody campaigns in Oregon. Like it just doesn't happen.
Things have changed. The dynamics for the races have changed to a large extent. To be honest, New Hampshire and Iowa are also RANs. Everything really begins at Super Tuesday, where people see things. All right. So here, if you take a look at this, supported Clinton, 25% supported Biden. We'll have to wait and see what the results are. Buttigieg, though, at 24%. With
new
Warren
voters.
as number 3, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. All right.
Super Tuesday. That's the Michigan primary, and Michigan? What other states come in on that one?
Well, one of the Carolinas in there. There's several states across the country that are part of Super Tuesday.
And actually, Steve Bear had a good point. He said he's worried about the DNC. He thinks it's going to break into 2 parties. And I would actually expand on that. I think it's going to be, if all of this goes south for them post-2020, you're going to see the Union Democrats, the corporate Democrats, and the Democratic Socialists. I would actually argue it's going to break into 3.
Well, that's a very interesting point. Just give me 1 second, Matt. Even on a leftist stream I was listening to last evening, I was hearing folks there just asking, can we have a new party? Continue, Matt.
Well, yeah, what I was going to say is you already kind of see that playing out when you look at, the Green Party in the early 2000s, and they're kind of falling apart. You see the Democrats kind of infusing into the Libertarian Party, actually, which irritates a lot of people like me, the right-leaning Libertarians. We're like, what the hell's going on? But you do see the Democratic Party actually shedding a lot of its support. They were saying that the GOP, the Grand Old Party, was the one that was crumbling. I don't see it. I think it's the Democrat Party that's crumbling.
I tend to agree.
This is one of the things that I was saying before. Right? If you want to start trying to fix a lot of the problems that we got going on, is you're going to have to decrease the distance between our representatives in Congress. I know everyone's talking about this and the president this and the president that, but the president is, while it is important, it's just one branch of the government. And the branch it's not the branch that's truly broken. The truly broken branch is the legislative branch, and it needs to get fixed.
Well, I mean, a lot of times I mean, no, we've kind of talked about this before, MC. It's just kind of like Congress should be doing
This is
its.
remarkably civil.
I know, it's amazing. How dare we have animus but not be enemies? I know, it's possible. Biden, see, we'll learn we'll learn your and just for clarification, I don't believe this particular Biden touch is the actual candidate on the ballot. I cannot confirm nor deny this.
Yeah,
okay.
no, that's totally Joe Biden. Come on.
Oh.
And you know what, XL? Fuck you.
He's not wrong.
We love you, man. We love you.
He's not wrong.
No, you guys really just like picking on me. That's what it is. I swear.
No, never.
Now, Matt, didn't you have an opportunity to run on the Libertarian ticket?
I did a couple years ago. They actually asked me to run in Oregon. Yeah.
So you didn't want to step up when the time was there?
I sat down with my wife and we talked about it, and we decided that we didn't want to go through that. Well, that meat grinder. Have you looked at Oregon politics?
Can I make a suggestion to you? All honesty, next time you get a chance to do it, do it. And let me tell you why. Not because you think you're going to win or anything else, but so that you can see and you can learn firsthand the process.
It's true. No, it's a learning experience.
No, and getting out there and actually running. Lane County is a pretty big county, so I would be going all over the place in my district if I was to run. So it would be entertaining, to say the least.
Just find out where all the schools are, right? See if you can end up going to the schools and talking to the schools and getting on. Wander around. You're gonna have to wander around a lot of. If you have universities in those areas, wander around the university campus. All right. Say, telling people that you want to do this every now and then. Just walk on there and say, hey, on this data, I'm going to be wandering in the area. If you got a question to ask me, please feel free. Just to get your name out there, to see how the process works. See whose hands you can shake. Because if nothing else, you're going to make some associations. You're going to learn. You're going to meet some people, right? And who knows what that can lead to later on.
Well, no, and it's really interesting. The Libertarian Party in Oregon is, it's really bad, okay? So it got so bad to where the Libertarian Party actually split in half and sued each other. So it's really, the landscape here in Oregon is crazy. And you have the Democrats, actually trying to actively arrest the Republicans. I mean,
oh my God,
it's insane.
Does Baby Yoda support Andrew Yang? I cannot confirm the validity of this picture right here, but that is adorable. He's part of the Yang gang, allegedly.
MC, have you ever thought about running over there in Arizona? I mean, you're a Western state, so you ever thought about throwing your hat in? You're a smart man.
The only time that I would do something like that is if I do run, or if I would run for an office, it will be 5 to 10 years from now, because I want my kids out of school and everything and completely out of the house.
See, that's what me and my wife were talking about. Is as soon as you throw your hat in the ring, they just run around. They go to your old high school. They look for anybody that could talk any trash on you. You know how the game's played, MC.
Well, the advantage I have in Arizona is I didn't actually grow up in Arizona, so that'd be a bit more difficult for them to go do things like that. But yeah,
that's all right.
Yeah, not me though. Like they'll get the cop that hated me. The high school resource cop. You'll be like, yeah, screw that guy.
Wouldn't that help you on the Libertarian ticket?
Probably, actually. You got a point.
No, Excel. We don't need to necessarily bash the Libertarian Party, although Biden touch agrees. It's kind of masturbatory. Well, hey, it is what it is.
The Libertarian Party is falling apart, and it will continue to fall apart. The Libertarian Party is suffering from what a lot of third parties will suffer. All right. Okay. And that is all of its issues will be absconded by the other two major parties. All right. So therefore, their appeal will always be very limited. Now, the one circumstance that Doku had mentioned earlier, whereas one of the major parties fracturing and becoming two, that is a more likely scenario. All right. And it's something that could happen. I don't actually see it at this time, however. I really don't.
Well, it's like when the Whig Party became the GOP, right? So you can have a situation like that.
That was a little bit different, and it was kind of odd. The reason that the Whig Party disintegrated, all right, had more to do with the fact that there was one issue that neither one of the other two major parties wanted to touch, and that was slavery. All right, both parties just wanted to let bygones be bygones and just ignore. The major issue. Okay, you could have seen something like that happen with the immigration issue. All right, I really was thinking that could happen with the immigration issue as it had currently been going, but Trump ended that. Basically, what Trump did is Trump took the anti-immigration stance and accepted it 100% into the GOP and forced the GOP to accept those terms. All right, so that ended that chance from becoming, a group of people on both parties coalescing within somehow a third party in that regard. All right, you didn't have that happen with the Whigs in the what becomes the Grand Old Party.
Well, don't you think that gun control can actually become that issue, especially looking at the libertarian stance, where the GOP, even President Trump, is leaving us hanging on this one, guys. He's not touching it.
See, could it turn into something like that if it continues to trend in that direction? Yeah, actually, it could. All right, honestly, that is something that could happen if it gets push comes to shove. But let's be honest. Right now, you're not there yet because, for the most part, the GOP is still pro Second Amendment.
So let's actually just touch on real quick what Excel's saying in the chat there. He says he would like there to be a strong libertarian party. I would argue we may actually be able to see that more in the future because I don't know about other parts of the country, but at least around here and on other places, we started to be putting the question of whether we should have our elections be listed as a ranked choice on the ballot. So if we see the rise of ranked choice voting, guess what? That opens up the great potential for a strong third party.
Well, and the strongest third party out there right now in the United States is the Libertarian Party. We are the only other choice. And no, we're not winning everywhere. You're right. We hardly even have any dog catchers, MC. You're right, okay? I hear you. But, I mean, it's got to start somewhere, man.
Well, Matt, do you like dogs?
Okay, well, let me know when it starts, all right? Not against you, but let me know when it starts.
I know. MC's been looking for a choice other than the Democrats to belong to for a while.
Well, there's a reason I say I'm not libertarian. I'm a constitutionalist.
Yeah, well, that makes your party even smaller, buddy. He might as well join me.
It does, but here's the problem. I'm not going to join the libertarians because I don't believe in anarcho-capitalism or anarcho-communism or anarchy in any way, shape, or form. It always runs into the same fucking problems.
What's wrong with the freedom choice? What's wrong with leaving everybody alone? What's wrong with minding your own? Wasn't that?
Let me ask you a question. I'll let you chew his head off real quick, MC. But let me just propose this question to Dodge. All right, so let's go the anarchy route, whether it's communism or capitalism. What's going to stop the tribe next door from coming over and taking your harvest because they had a crap harvest and you had a good one? What's going to stop your society from building a hierarchy? The elders doing what they do, having the women nurture the children, and having the men go out and hunt. Let's even say, okay, let's flip-flop it to appease the progressives. Let's say the women go out and hunt, and the men are the ones that nurture the children. What's going to stop the social hierarchy from forming? Nothing.
Well, I mean,
I'm actually, see, this is at the point where I just sit back, crack open a beer, and I go, why do I want to stop the hierarchy?
Because
Why
that's
do
the
I
only
want to
way.
stop human
Because if you
nature?
don't
What?
have-
No, wait a minute. As long as you don't invade my territory. Now,
Yeah,
what's going to
okay,
stop
I'm
them from
going to do
invading my territory? My guns.
no,
My
no, that's
brother.
not.
And my fucking son.
No,
That's who's
no,
going to stop them.
that's and if they have more sons and more brothers, you lose. Okay, it comes down to that. Or you sit up there and try and get your neighbors, but your neighbors then have to have the same philosophy. Who is teaching the younger generation to carry on that philosophy? This is why you end up with social dynamics. This is why society is important. You are not a group of one. If you attempt to go in there as a group of one, you are going to lose. History shows this time and time and time again.
Well, isn't that why on our money we have e pluribus unum, out of many one?
No, that e pluribus unum has to do with the fact that we are many states and we have a union. All right.
Oh. Well, it's the currency of the union.
It's just had nothing to do with libertarian policy.
That's like when frickin' Ilham Omar tries to say like, oh, give me you're tired and you're hungry and you're this. Yeah, they still went through Staten Island. There's still a vetting process. Like, no, it wasn't an immigration policy. It was a moral policy where, okay, yeah, come into our country and come into the culture and nationalize and assimilate. Please don't blow anybody up. It didn't mean just come in whenever you want.
Well, right, but you don't think many of President Trump's actions, even if they were just on Twitter, are inflaming things so that individuals such as Representative Omar, their voice has more clout? Okay, well, I'm afraid
I don't
to
think
disagree.
it has anything to do with inflaming them because they would be looking for that rhetoric no matter who it was.
Oh, I mean, sure there would be.
Trump is just the vessel for them to try and push that.
He's throwing fuel on the proverbial fire, though.
No, he's not backing down. There's the difference. Okay, see, you
Is
look
that
at
not
it
throwing fuel on the fire?
No, it's standing
No.
up for something. You know what the
Okay.
difference? The difference is standing up to these people. This is how they bully people. This is how they've gotten a lot of the nonsense they've pushed through in this country away. All right, is by bullying people into silence. Trump's the one person who said, you know what? Not only am I not going to be silent, or I'm going to get in your face right when you get into mine and give it back to you. And that's where they're like, okay, we have to destroy you now. That's one of the reasons why it's no holds barred against him, because they can't allow him to succeed. Because if he does, more people will stand up to their nonsense, and they can't continue that way.
You don't think the sheer fact that at that time candidate Trump calling for a ban on an entire religion
He didn't call
ignited
for a
passions?
ban on an entire religion.
He did?
No, he did not.
And I'm okay. MC, can I take this one?
Well, actually, real quick before you do, how can you ban a religion when you have separation of church and state?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant real quick. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. So first off, no, it's not a Muslim ban. It's a travel ban. It has to do with specific states that do not come up to the same standards of vetting and security that the United States required for people traveling from said country to the United States, because their own national security is so crap that we cannot vet the people coming in, let alone vet the people. We don't even know if they're from the certain country. They might have just walked across the border. So no, it's not a ban based on religion. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, a Muslim, if you're agnostic, if you're atheist, it doesn't matter. These countries do not have a good vetting process. They do not have good national security. They do not have secure borders. Therefore, we're not allowing travel from these certain countries for that specific purpose, because it's a threat to national security. If it was a Muslim ban, if it was a religious ban, why haven't we kicked out all the Muslims in this country? And if we're going to go to the far extreme of that argument, how are you going to sit there and tell me that these are the only majority Muslim countries in the entire world? Why aren't the rest of them banned? Why isn't Saudi Arabia banned? Why isn't Indonesia banned? The calling it a Muslim ban is a disingenuous, gaslighting strawman argument, and it's bullshit.
So, Doku, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with the words that just came out of your mouth, but that's not what I said. I said at that time, candidate Trump, not the official policy. Because see, what I remember when candidate Trump said that, that just seems so over the top that I'm just literally like, well,
Yeah,
number
but
one, we have the First Amendment.
First of all, when he said that, you're parsing things because you didn't include his entire comment, right? Which is that Muslims from these states,
He said we needed to figure out what the heck was going on, at least
from these states, all right, and the Muslims from these states. And he was very explicit about that. And you've got to take a narrow snippet out of context to come up and say, well, it was a Muslim ban. He wanted to ban all Muslims. That's not only not charitable, it's not honest.
Was it? So those words didn't come out of his mouth?
It's not honest because it's not the totality of what he was saying.
Okay.
You can parse words left and right on anybody, right?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
He was specifically talking about people from certain states that just happen to be majority Muslim pose a national security risk.
He's saying that all Mexicans are rapists and murderers and drug dealers. Remember that one? Same context.
It's almost like the framing makes a difference, MC. I've heard people complaining about framing. It was not articulated well. Yes, if you had to change around two sentences here or there, he could have communicated the same thing in a less hateful way.
No. What it means is that people are going to go out there and parse his words to take whatever extreme meaning it is and take it out of context. And that's all the left ever does do.
And oh, by the way, memes, that comment, the one you're referencing, he was specifically talking about people who are felons and already convicted, rapists and murderers and have been deported before.
I brought that up, not memes.
Sorry, MC then. I'll credit where credit is due. But no, he was specifically talking about people who are already convicted felons, rapists, murderers, gang members, known gang members, et cetera, et cetera. He wasn't just talking about random people walking over the border. He was talking about those people in general in regards to the context of that particular statement.
Man Ray of Hope 23, you're correct. Anarchy can never be achieved because it can't be maintained. Yes, it will change from one state to another.
When you're talking about anarcho-capitalism, you're not talking about a pure anarchy. But anyway, that's not our topic for the night.
We'll save that one for tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll save that one for Wednesday.
No,
we'll join tomorrow.
But no, here's the thing, though. Okay. When it boils down to, especially Iowa, this doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. Whoever wins this is probably going to lose. And they're definitely going to lose when they go up against Trump. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. The political climate right now, you have pushed a class of people in America to the breaking point. You have told us that we are racist so much that we're finally like, yeah, we're racist, fuck you. That's not good. That's not a good thing. Okay? You don't want to push people to the point where they just don't give a shit anymore. Do you? Do you think that ever turns out really well?
Well, no, but to say that Iowa doesn't matter, I disagree. And in that regard is, like I said, the one thing that it can affect, and Memes mentioned this before as well, which is it makes a difference from a fundraising perspective. Okay? It can cut off fundraising, all right, or it can sit up there and increase fundraising, which allows you to increase your voice. Like it or not, the Iowa caucuses can be very important. Now, as far as how well Bernie is doing in Iowa, okay, I've said this before. A lot of it is he's got the energy. He's got the youth vote. They were traveling around showing all those pictures. And the one thing that you saw in all those pictures, and I was trying to point out to people, is you don't see the elderly there. That's not a good sign. Believe it or not, that is not a good sign, right, for the Democrats. If you take and that's something that's different between a Sanders rally and a Trump rally. You go to a Trump rally and you'll see all age groups. You go to a Sanders rally and you see generally youth.
Well, I think the bigger and more important question that we've kind of avoided this whole time, we've touched on it a bit, but did any of these candidates actually stand a chance against Trump?
Okay,
I mean, let's be honest.
The issue that's going to revolve for the presidential election, right, in November hasn't been determined yet. So does any of these people stand a chance against Trump? If as long as you can get on the stage with Trump, you've got a chance. Welcome to reality. You don't know if Trump won't just walk out one day and just go, all right, and just pull off his pants and go running down the street. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't expect it to happen, but could it happen? All right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
within reasonable consideration. Let's say it goes to Buttigieg or Bloomberg or Biden or Warren or Yang or Gabbard. Who actually stands a chance of actually beating Trump in the 2020 election? Like, who if you were the DNC and
whoever's standing against him has a chance. A good chance, no, but whoever, and that's from this standpoint.
okay,
who knows what could change? All right,
who can win?
Well, let me give an example. Suppose Trump has a stroke.
Okay,
Then what happens?
Within reasonable doubt, who can win?
Okay, but is what I'm saying unreasonable?
Well, I actually have a question.
Having a stroke.
Well, you never know. And yeah, that's what I want to jump off of, the Trump stroke comment. Okay, so is President Trump keeping Pence as his running mate? And if so, do you see Pence as a viable president? What if something did happen to President Trump? He's not the youngest guy in the room.
Would Pence be a viable candidate? All right, it would be an interesting dynamic because I don't know how the nation would react. All right, would the nation react like they did with JFK? All right, where they basically coalesce upon, the predecessor, or not the predecessor, but the one
Next
who
in
took
line.
over from the next in line, or would they say, okay, this is a chance, and go the exact opposite? Now's our chance to get rid of the GOP and do it. I don't know the answer to that, and to be honest, I don't know where it would come down. Overall, the nation tends to like stability, so they tend not to want to change in midstream like that. So they probably would coalesce behind Pence, at least for the first 4 years. All right, if that's what it takes, but that's just a guess. Okay, we don't exist in that 1960s mentality anymore. So I'm not sure how exactly that would all play out. All right. What kind of person
no,
would
and I'm
Pence
just
be?
thinking the cult of personality. Pence has like 0 personality. He's like freaking half and half. You know what I mean? So
You know what?
He definitely doesn't have Trump's personality. That's very true.
But
know what?
that's go on.
I'm glad you brought that up because if it's not Yang or Gabbard, I would honestly, and I will say something that's going to make people go, "What the fuck are you thinking?" I would bet that if it was fucking Oprah Winfrey, or
Winfrey.
Winfrey. I'm gonna call her Winfrey because she has her fees on display for everyone to see. It's how she made her fucking billions.
Okay.
It would either be her or Michelle Obama would have a better chance than Biden or Warren.
hey, you get a free trip to the gulag. You get a free trip to the gulag.
Oh, I heard some people say it wasn't all that bad. Can I just point out one thing? I realize I'm not broadcasting audio through here. I just heard a correspondent on NBC say playing Minecraft. Or in Minecraft.
Oh my god. Wow. Are they getting it really so bad to where they're like, you know what? We're just gonna be YouTube pundits now. like we give up.
Telling you, the worlds are colliding.
Oh, and also Pepe Cole in the chat. I'm glad my Oprah Winfrey comment got laugh out you.
Tulsi is my friend if I were a
going to
Democrat, but I'm not.
I'll save you a seat at the bar when I get to Satan's.
To tell you the truth, there, Biden's touch. This is Memes' girlfriend too. He really likes Tulsi.
What?
I call Tulsi Smurfette. I have absolutely no use for her. But then there's memes. You got a buddy. You got a buddy.
MC, she's not blue. If anything, she looks more like Rogue with kind of like the streak through the hair and everything. She rocks it well.
I mean, she's pretty for her age.
It's Smurfette. La 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 la.
No,
I would never have that song playing in my head if I thought the person was Rogue.
MC.
Right.
Let's be honest. The la 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 la. That's AOC's theme song. Let's get it right.
Okay, what's the difference between AOC and Tulsi Gabbard, policy-wise?
What one actually paid attention in college?
I said policy-wise.
Not very nice. Representative Ocasio-Cortez, I thought you went to BC or BU.
Doesn't mean she paid attention.
She got her degree in economics.
She did?
Yes.
Yeah. Somehow she still doesn't understand it, though.
That doesn't
Wait.
say a whole lot about
No.
Boston University, though, does it?
Well, no. Did she take economics at UC Berkeley?
No, she took it at Boston University. She was in the same
okay.
memes.
What?
No, that makes total sense. Everything makes sense now.
No, I sold
understand the
internet
world
over
again.
there. I didn't actually go to school.
You have become one with the electron, have you?
The
He said
electron?
it all makes total sense now. So I was saying, Mad Dodge is he's become one with the electron.
Oh. Do you have a microscope?
What does a microscope have to do with an electron?
Oh,
He's
electron
making a very cheesy dad electron microscope joke.
Yes.
Oh, he's attempting to.
Wow. Burned by the boomer.
Oh, burned by the boomer. Ouch.
Oh.
Feel the burn. MC, are you going to vote for Bernie?
You're going to need drugs for this.
Am I going to vote for Bernie? No. I am not going to vote for Bernie.
Wait a minute.
That is not
No. I just want everybody to notice. Meme said he needs drugs for this, and he turned off the camera. So I'm pretty sure he's doing drugs.
You're making assumptions now, and what has Memes told you not to make assumptions about himself? You know, the dragon little scaly kid?
Oh my god, is Memes doing crocodile? That shit's bad for you, Memes. Stop it.
What the hell's crocodile?
He's
You don't know? Oh my god. Oh, you gotta look that up. That's fucked up shit.
Cortez is still figuring out why her brother has two sisters and she doesn't.
Oh, well, she should ask Ellen Omar.
Oh, Memes, watch out. If you're clicking on that, dude, oh, those pictures are bad.
The drug that
not
beats
good.
junkies. It's a synthetic opiate, many times more powerful.
Yeah, it's Russian heroin. It's fucked up. It's not
Better
good.
than Chinese heroin.
It's highly addictive. It was reported as desmorphine. So the thing is Memes actually was seeing as he has to control this. He's actually the one looking all this stuff up. He's like, well, sounds like something I might need to try, right?
The question is it worse than fentanyl?
Iowa,
Yeah, no, dude. They're making that stuff out of butane and shit, dude. It's really messed up, man. It's not good at all.
Wait, they're
And that's
making
what.
it out of butane? Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, butane, dude. Yeah,
What the hell?
I know, right? Butane, diesel fuel. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing, dude? It's messed up. It's bad.
Don't get me wrong. I've heard the jokes about, like huffing gasoline and everything, but like, bro, no, stop, please.
Yeah, dude, no, and they're making this stuff and they're shooting it up, like directly into the vein. No, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's not good for you. Bro, if you want a high, like, can we go back to like snuffing glue or huffing glue or paint or some shit?
yeah. Here's some Elmer's glue, homie.
Bro,
Calm down.
calm down. Yeah, seriously, dude, it ain't that serious, man. Come on, what the hell?
I leave
no,
for 2 minutes to take a leak, and you're already talking about drugs that are eating junkies and stuff.
Well, no,
it's not
and the
Simpsons,
thing
we're not
is,
eating junkies.
well, no, and that's the thing, though. That's where I come back to the libertarian argument of when you make these drugs illegal, heroin is illegal, so they make something worse to sell it for cheaper. Kind of like, every other drug ever.
Well, it's a Portugal argument.
Yeah, so if you have something that's legal and regulated, well, then it's safer in general, right?
No.
It depends on what substance you're talking about. Like, if we're talking about weed, like, yeah, regulate it, make sure it's not laced with something. Tax it so the government can take their frickin' little cut.
Gasoline does smell kind of good. I also worked as a petroleum dispensing technician. I pump
Well,
gas.
yeah, I say there's two types of people. The people that think gas smells good and the idiots. No.
Thank you, Matt, for that hot take.
Don't get me wrong, I like the smell of gasoline. Doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and huff it to try to get high.
Liar. You're huffing it right now, aren't you?
That doesn't taste as good as you would imagine.
Oh yeah, hold on real quick. Let me go huff some gasoline while I smoke a cigarette and light my esophagus on fire.
Okay, Joe Dirt. Oh shit! I just doxed you. God damn it!
This has degenerated quite well.
Oh. Hey, you've talked with us before. You know this is just the way things go.
Normally, I'm able to talk over Mad Dodge enough not to allow some of the insanity to actually escape, but I kind of failed. I'm sorry.
Well, his kids are growing up.
That's just going to make you more insane. Trust me. Kids don't make you sane; they make you insane. Trust me.
Wait, my kids are growing up. I better go have some more. I'll be right back.
That'll take you 5 minutes.
Hey, asshole!
He's
Talking to my
shoot
wife
for that.
again? No.
Mad Dodge is trying to shoot for that magic 96 number.
Again.
Pun intended.
Okay, as we're looking at this,
Oh.
the guy behind there, is that Bernie?
Oh, it looks like Bernie's brother.
Well, at least it's an older person.
The bread lines are working.
but everybody else, it looks like they just either just graduated or still in high school.
That's
Warren's
bad. The
numbers.
bread lines are working.
So,
Yeah, but if you're so old you can't stand in line, what do?
so according to this gentleman here for NBC, Bernie on the second ballot was ahead by Elizabeth Warren for 3 as the two viable
hold up.
candidates.
Hillary Clinton 54. What?
No, that's for last time.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, wait, what?
Hillary's not on the ballot yet.
That's why I was very curious. Like, wait, no, why is her name popping up?
Now, I will say this about the primaries going, when it goes there. One of the things that, like I was saying before, this could easily turn into a contested convention. Now, a contested convention is actually not necessarily a bad thing for the Democrats, right? Not necessarily. In this case, though, it could be absolutely devastating. Because if you have a nasty convention fight, it could lead to some very hard feelings, and it could lead to what you were talking about, Doku, where the party fractures significantly, right? But at the same time, the one advantage of having a contested convention is this. You don't know what's going to happen. And so the media, right, will be sucking up oxygen to take it away, because the one thing that Trump has as an advantage is he has the bully pulpit. Whenever Trump wants to make news, he can. It's easy for him to make news. All right, it's going to be much more difficult for the Democrat candidates to make news on their own in and of themselves. However, if you have a contested convention, all right, that's going to suck up a lot of the oxygen away from Trump, and it actually could cause Trump.
That's adorable.
Well, I would argue, MC, that you're right, and I would back it up with this. If you have a contested convention, then the one that comes out of it is going to be vetted. You know what I mean? Like, you got the best possible candidate coming out of that bitch. You know what I mean?
You would hope.
Well, for the party, you have the best candidate. All right, you've got a candidate that's at least acceptable. All right, whether or not 10% of your party says, "Well, I'm not voting for that individual." All right, come hell or high water, I'm going to be a never whatever. I'm going to be a never Yanger, or I'm going to be a never Biden, or I'm going to be a never Sanders, or I mean, could that happen? Yeah. That to be honest though, the one fear that the Democrats have is this, with Bernie being the nominee, is that the elderly will not vote for him.
Really?
That's a problem.
Well, they
is that
won't.
What you were
They
bringing
won't
up?
because, well, memes. They won't because he's wanting to hand away everything that they're preparing to give to their children. Come on. When you want to tax the middle class at what, 70%, 65? That's a problem. Okay, you're not going to convince somebody who, I don't know, lived through the Korean War that handing all their fucking money over at the end of their life is a good idea.
Well, no, let's be fair. With the middle class, since I'm not talking upper middle class, but lower to mid middle class, they're taxed around 20 to 30%. He's talking about bringing it up to 30, 40%. But yeah, he will do that.
Well, here's the thing that we're not really, sorry to cut you off, MC, but we're not really talking about as well. It's like, even if someone like Senator Sanders or Elizabeth Warren was elected president, there's still only one branch of government. They would still need to work within the Congress to get anything passed. So that's why I also keep in mind that even if Bernie Sanders wanted to do some of these things, he is going to be limited with the things he could actually do.
Well, I think there's a better than even chance that even after this next, let's assume that Trump beats expectations and just has a wonderful frickin' day, and it's for the election and gets reelected by a landslide. Okay, that doesn't mean that the Republicans are gonna take the House, and it definitely doesn't mean that the Senate is going to stay Republican.
It's true.
The one thing to remember about
MC, wait a minute though. Whose Senate seat do you think is really up in the air? I mean, okay, Kentucky seems pretty settled in. Rand ain't going anywhere. I don't really see anyone in the political landscape that's going to lose their seat.
The thing to remember is that the Republicans right now have a 3-seat majority, right? However, of the 33 senators up for re-election, 20 something are Republicans. Okay, the Democrats only have to defend like 10 or 11 seats, right? This is a major difference. Now, one of those seats is weak. Okay, I'll be honest with you, and that's the seat in Alabama with Doug Jones. But it's very possible.
Well,
that
isn't
Martha,
Louisiana?
I'll give you an example.
Well, isn't Louisiana up for re-election also? It's pretty tenuous in Louisiana. They're barely holding strong in Virginia. That barely went purple. So, I mean, the Democrats, they have to defend.
Well, they do, but at the same time, so does the GOP. Martha McSally here in Arizona is on the cusp of losing. All right, so just the numbers alone favor, from a Senate perspective, favor the Democrats.
So MC, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but what are your thoughts about this? About, according to these exit polls, about 57% of folks support Medicare for all.
I think that's devastating for the Democrats in Iowa. All right, come the election time.
Okay.
Because if only 57% support Medicare for all, and that is going to be the signature of whatever the Democrat nominee is. All right, that's what they're going to run on. It means that over half of the Democrats don't want it, and that means
that was over half in Iowa. Again, that was only Iowa.
I'm talking strictly in Iowa. It means there's no way the Democrats are going to take Iowa in the next presidential campaign.
Well, no, and when you're looking at the other numbers there, I saw climate change. They're only carrying at, what, 23% of the demographic cares about climate change? And this is a Democratic, and this is a Democrat election. Isn't that an issue for them as well? People seem to be losing interest. It seems like the culture war is bleeding in more than, climate change or healthcare, right?
Well, healthcare is obviously going to be an issue, right? I mean, they're going to try and make that an issue, but the reality is there's going to be, we don't know exactly what everything's going to turn on. Okay, we don't know what the issues that are going to be as they go forward. What actually is going to happen with it? We're just making assumptions here because we're too far out. We're still too far out from the actual election.
Right. And again, we're getting mixed results all over the place. According to Marianne Ahern, it appears she works for NBC. It looks like, at least at the YMC Des Moines caucus, Bernie's doing pretty well.
Yeah, notice the ages.
Yeah. Are they allowing 16-year-olds to vote now? Is that what's going on?
No, MC has a very valid point, because if you do not have a lot of the more older folks, kind of like folks that are maybe of getting around retirement age or so, if they're not there and they're not actually showing up, that typically is one of the larger voting demographics, and that definitely would be a concern. I don't see a whole lot of older folks.
No, I'm dead serious. That's a 13-year-old girl in that picture. That's not the one that voted, right? I'm serious. I'm saying that looks illegal.
Probably someone's daughter.
That looks illegal.
I think she may have just been there for a photo.
I say, how about we start checking IDs? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that also goes into the makeup of the caucus. Go ahead, MC.
Well, that's the thing is we'll have to wait and see. Now, that was just one precinct in Des Moines, all right, or one area in Des Moines. There's going to be multiple areas. There's 17,000 or 1,700 rather areas across the state of Iowa. So within Des Moines being one of the larger cities, all right, it's going to have multiple areas. Des Moines tends to be far more liberal, all right. That will do this. I do agree with the statement from Jordan that 35% of the caucus goers, if they're new caucus goers, it's a good sign for Sanders, except if all he's doing is bringing in young people. It's not as good a sign as people think it is.
Well, it looks like a lot of newer caucus goers were going for Sanders and Mayor Pete. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Well, no, they won't vote come November, right? Like, they'll just stay home.
Well, even if they vote, they don't have the numbers. The youth is limited in the number of people that in comparison to the elderly.
Well, and how many states have vote by mail? Because here in Oregon, it's really easy. And I know you have an issue with vote by mail, MC, and let's not, we don't have to revisit that right now. But it does make it easier, right? So, like, me and my wife can sit down and do our ballots and mail them in. That's easy. That's better than having to actually show up at a polling station come November 2nd, right? So, how many states actually have it that way? Because that would tend to lean Democratic at that point, right? Just for pure convenience. The Republicans will show up no matter what. The Democrats, they're a little more wishy-washy.
So all states have some kind of vote by mail to an extent, all right? But as far as the way you do it in Oregon, almost no state. I think there's maybe one or two states that are like that. Almost no other states like that.
Now, one quick question: what's a satellite caucus? Are these just like play caucuses, or are these actually official for something?
I think that satellite caucuses are okay. You have one like unit. Okay, but out of that unit, you got subunits of where people are because they know not everybody can be there at one spot.
Right.
All right. Now this here is showing a lot of people that are a little bit on the elderly side.
Right. Well, it's in
notice this?
Florida. Yeah.
Oh, this is Florida.
Right. Yeah. This is from Florida. Is that where a lot of the older folks in Iowa are at? Just because it's winter. Like my dad's down in Florida right now, so
That could be that could be a satellite where they're voting in from in the Florida area. They say that I'm actually an Iowan, but I'm living in Florida, and so I'm voting for Florida.
Yeah, so it's like a absentee ballot, right?
because apparently Bernie already won 3 satellite caucuses in Iowa and just outside Iowa before this. So that's according to Jordan Sheridan.
But what do you think about my comment though, where like vote by mail and these satellite caucuses like this? Isn't that more Democrat leaning, right? Because really, it's a convenience factor. They're not going to go out of their way to vote, are they?
Well, it's that, but it's from a youth perspective. Even when mailing stuff in, the youth tend not to even mail stuff in.
Well, but MC brings up an interesting issue because, though MC, I did hear that, and again, this was only according to some folks on the left, that the youth is actually now the largest voting demographic. Now, again, likely voters may be different. I'm just curious.
We have a growing population that expanding that quickly in the United States.
Oh, I have no idea. See, that's why that was something I had heard.
Yeah, whoever told you that was they're full of shit.
Well, the thing is, I realize a lot of folks are retaring and stuff like that. That's why I kind of was.
We wouldn't be having this crash and the Social Security getting ready for us, and when the boomers all retire, right? If we had such a large influx of young people in the country.
Now, MC, if any of these results are even close to accurate here, if we're seeing like it going Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Mayor Pete, Andrew Yang, Joe Biden, if Joe doesn't get a top 3 finish here, which it very well may be the case, I mean, I don't know.
Biden is going to be in significant trouble if he can't put in a number 3 finish here, or at least a close 4th. If he comes in like he is right now in 5th or in, long distance 4th, then and gets shellacked like he could in New Hampshire, he's done. He will be considered not viable.
He is actually not doing very well at all, right? Like these numbers are not looking good.
At which point his numbers will switch, and the big push. What will happen is when he becomes non-viable, is his voter base, I think, will flee to Buttigieg.
That's an
really?
point.
You don't think Warren? You don't think they'll go over to Elizabeth?
No. Why would they go to Warren?
Because she's pretty much, they're all pretty much saying the same thing, right? Like, I can't tell the difference in any of their pitches.
Okay. Where did she go to get her base? She ran and is competing with Sanders for the far left wing, okay? Buttigieg was always trying to say, look, I'm a moderate. He's not, but he's trying to claim that he's trying to claim that moderate mantle with Biden, all right? And as a result, well, since you've got 2 similar candidates, where do the overflow from one will go to the other? It'll flow naturally to Buttigieg.
I actually tend to agree with MC on this point because, I mean, Mayor Pete, whether you like to say it or not, he's almost in a way kind of like a Joe Biden Jr.
Okay. I haven't really been paying that much attention to the Democratic race, so I'll defer to you guys on this one. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. It's just whether you like to admit it or not, it's like, yes, Vice President Joe Biden, I mean, he got into this, and again, like, I really don't think he wanted to take part in this election. He even straight up says, he's like, oh, I had 4 leaders from across the world telling me, Joe, get into the race. I mean, you could have questions about the fact that he's listening to a lot of folks, but the general sentiment you get was, I'm not sure he really wants to be out there on the campaign trail. I don't know.
I don't think he is mentally I'll be honest with you. You can see it. He's not mentally sharp. Okay, and it is affecting him. And the one thing that you can definitely say is that this impeachment fiasco has affected him dramatically.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this? Because according to NBC, it looks like you have about 42% of caucus goers identifying as men and 58% identifying as women for gender. Does that seem to just reflect Iowa, perhaps, or are we seeing a lot of ladies getting out to participate?
You know what's interesting? I don't know if this is the case. Okay, so I just want to stipulate that. But when you have a low voter turnout, it's usually a high female turnout and a high youth turnout. And the older gentlemen and the older demographics just stay home. And I don't know. That's just, it seems, the last 3 or 4 elections, it's gone that way. If you have a low voter turnout, you have a high female vote.
I mean, I'm not sure the correlation on that. I mean, maybe? I don't know. Well, see, the thing is, a caucus is also very involved because it's not like you just go out there and vote. You're just actively, like MC was kind of saying, it's like, oh, hey, come over here because of this, and you're almost trying to convince people. Well, you are.
It's not like you're trying, almost trying.
Well, you don't always. You don't always succeed, but yeah.
Well, what do you think, MC? Am I off base there?
To a point. I mean, it's the Iowa is Iowa. We'll have to wait and see how it turns out. What exactly were you saying again, man? I was trying to say your point again.
Okay. What I was saying is, in election years, if you have a overall low voter turnout, it seems that it's a higher female and youth vote that actually end up coming out. Where when it's a really contentious year and everybody comes out, you have more males and more of the older demographic coming out, and they tend to swing Republican normally. So especially when it comes to like Iowa and Democrats here. You notice all the pictures memes keeps putting up. It's all full of women and kids. Where are the older people?
I think that has more to do with the media and what they're pushing. All right, especially because I think a lot of the media is pushing Warren. All right, and so and to quite frankly, whether you like Warren or not, I can tell you one thing: Warren inherited the ground game. All right, from Hillary. Okay, she inherited a lot of that ground game base, the people on the ground to go out there and knock on doors to get people to come out. Okay. You see that in a lot of different places. There is still that push, especially the quote unquote feminist push for Elizabeth Warren. Now, I seriously don't think that Warren has a chance in the election. Okay, and what I mean is the primary. I really don't think she has a chance in this primary at all. Okay, she's made too many gaffes early on, but she can recover from it if she does real well. Her big thing will be Nevada coming up, and obviously if she gets a decent finish here in Iowa, it could propel her. But what's interesting about that is that if she gets, let's say she comes in a really close second to Bernie here in Iowa, okay, as some of the indications have shown, that could spell disaster for Bernie, okay, because what it could do is it could cause her to steal votes in New Hampshire and revitalize Biden.
So you're thinking she might actually take away from some of Senator Sanders' steam going into New Hampshire,
yep,
which may actually give Vice President Biden a boost.
Yep,
that's interesting.
Well, when it comes to gaffes, though, who has more gaffes than Biden himself? Right? I mean,
You could argue Trump, but as far as Democrats go,
Trump's gaffes are not on the level of Biden. Let's be honest. All right. If
Biden is creepy. He's creepy. When he was sitting down with those kids and talking about the leg hair and shit, like, that was weird, dude. That was weird.
If you had the kind of press, if Biden even came close to 50% of the negative press, all right, that is dedicated toward Trump, all right, it would be a disaster.
Well, you don't think that would happen if Joe Biden got the nomination? You don't think the Trump campaign, with its $806 million raised, isn't going to flood the airwaves with all those creepy Joe things?
Oh, no, that's true, but that's not the press. Okay? That's not the media every day hounding you. Okay? They've taken a few shots at Bernie, but not the kind of dedicated shots that they do with Trump. So when you said Trump, my point was Trump's gaffes are in some ways, he does make gaffes, let's be honest. But was Kofifi really that big a gaffe?
Kofifi was an actual bill that was passed.
You know what I'm talking about.
No, I know. And that's one of my things with the media as well. It's like, I think a lot of times they're wasting time crying Trump over things that it's like, okay, he said not the greatest of words came out of his mouth. Sure, you can mention that, but when you're harping on it left and right, I think you're doing the American people a disservice, because every time, like, he's on a salacious tweet or something that folks jump all over to get clicks and everything, it's like, what's going on in the meantime? Is the president not actually doing policy that is affecting the nation? If you truly are more of a progressive, forward-thinking press, I think you should be covering those actual actions rather than just the silly things that he tweets, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
So, and that's the thing. No, I mean, even Andrew Yang and even to an extent Representative Gabberts have highlighted that. They're not spending their whole time talking about the president and stuff. They're actually talking about things that might resonate. Now, you can say whether or not that's actually going to work. While Senator Sanders definitely takes his jabs and swings at the president, he actually is proposing things. Now, many people here may disagree with the things that he's proposing, but he still is proposing things, and he does have a generally uplifting message.
Yang needs to learn history. Yang actually could have done really well if he studied history a little bit, especially if he studied the JFK campaign. He could have actually made a decent run. But I'm not here to help people.
In what respect? No, like what could he have done that you think would have been more effective?
Okay. He's not going to listen to me, so, but somebody will eventually. What did JFK do? All right, now you got to remember, JFK is coming off of 8 years of Eisenhower. Okay, the economy was awesome. Okay, so you're dealing with the fact that you've got Vice President Nixon. All right, you're going against Tricky Dick. Okay, so how did he play that? Well, the first thing, of course, that he was arguing was national security. He became the national security hawk. Okay, now there's no way that Yang's going to sit up there and be able to create that. But the other thing he did to deal with the economy was, yeah, the economy's great. The economy's doing better, or the economy's doing well, but it can be so much better if you elect me. We can really make it roar. You're not seeing that. If he was doing that, if he was saying, look, I've got economic plans that are going to boost this through the roof. If you think Trump has got the economy going, wait till you see what I've got planned.
So you're saying it's just, okay, things are good, we can do this much better, right, rather than trying to say that everything is absolute crapola, which No, there's some folks that aren't doing well, but there are a lot of folks that are. I'll be straight up. One of the gentlemen I used to work with in New Hampshire, he actually had a family salon, and he said under President Trump, his business was doing great. Like this is an actual human being that is telling me these things. So it's like, if you're going around these people, your lived experience don't mean anything. That's being disingenuous. And as an individual of the left, it's like, I hear a lot of folks saying all the time, it's like we should consider people's lived experiences. And whether or not you agree with them or not, it's like they're letting you know their perspective and worldview, and we should listen to these folks, in my opinion.
Kennedy was actually, in a lot of ways, very brilliant as far as a campaigner. Now, he had a lot of advantages because he was coming from a very, very politically savvy family. Okay. And they had a lot of very good connections, and you can say what you want about him, but he was also a war hero. All right, he had a lot of natural advantages going into that campaign against Nixon. While Nixon was also in World War II and served, you could say served honorably, he didn't have the heroics of JFK. JFK also had, like it or not, a good-looking wife, and he played on that. All right, Jacqueline Onassis was a stalwart of icon that the media glommed onto. All right, not saying that Pat Nixon was a non-existent, but she was not. She wasn't Jackie O. I mean, let's be honest. So, but the fact that he went in there not to denigrate America, but what he did is said, not only is America doing good and we're the greatest country in the world, all right, but we can do so much better economically. Now, his other thing, of course, is there's a missile gap because Sputnik, but
well, that lit a fire under our butts. So,
I mean, it wasn't accurate, but I mean, to make the claim when you don't know any better and you don't have the evidence, it is what it is.
Well, that's what people remember. That's what resonated with them. So, go on.
All right, yeah, memes. Thank you very much for having me on. Been here for about 2.5 hours. My wife just got home, so I'm gonna get out of here and eat dinner, dude. Take it easy.
Cool. Thank you for coming.
Bye, Bandage.
Yeah. So apparently there's been some technical difficulties. I saw someone make a quick quip that apparently the individual running the IT department of the Iowa Caucuses was the same individual that launched the Obamacare website. I can neither confirm nor deny any of this, but that was it gave me a few giggles there. That's the thing.
Well, I mean, the early results so far show what? Right? They show that I think Sanders is doing well.
Mayor Pete is almost kind of a dark horse, if you would, that's kind of pulling ahead. I haven't seen the greatest things for Biden here. I saw one of those satellite caucuses that looked like Senator Amy Klobuchar had won.
Here's another summary of results. Of 20 of 1765 precincts reporting Pete Buttigieg is edging. Sanders has come up. He's actually dropped a bit, but Biden's come up dramatically.
Right. This is 20 of 1,765 precincts reporting, so that's 1.13% of the expected vote. So
it's a long ways away.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a while, and
and that's the thing is these are caucuses. There's no set time for these people to report. They busy bitch at one another and yell at one another. Come over here, no, go over there. So
realistically, we're probably not going to get any type of real accurate results for the next couple of hours, then, right?
Probably not. And in fact, I've got supper here ready for me.
Right, so I was getting ready to do about the same thing. So. Yeah, I think I've had about enough of this at the moment.
Well, if you want to do, just set up tomorrow about 7 o'clock your time, and we'll do a recap. How's that?
We'll do a recap. No, that sounds like a good idea.
Right.
Oh,
So
cool.
Well, tomorrow at 7 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock Eastern. It'll be 5 o'clock my time. So we'll do a recap, and we'll see how it comes back. But it does look like Biden is actually pulling some support, at least initially. So maybe it's not going to be as bad for Biden as I thought it was. Look, if Pete Buttigieg maintains where he's at, and Sanders takes it all, and Warren creeps in, and Biden slips to fourth, I think what you're going to see is a major turn. All right. That could change things. New Hampshire becomes critical for Biden. He has to get at least second place, and if he doesn't, everything's going to flow to Buttigieg. Yeah. You will see a mass exodus, I think, toward Buttigieg.
And then, as we were talking, probably you'll see the campaign, the money, and everything kind of go in that direction as well. So,
yep.
But yeah, all right, we'll call it here for now. So, hey, thank you everybody that's made it this far, and anyone that may watch in the future. But we're gonna wrap it up, and we'll reconvene at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So,
hold on, one comment here, Wookie. You can say what you want about Jackie O. You cannot like her. In fact, I personally think that she wasn't all that good a person, but she was not a frumpy biatch. Okay, she just wasn't. Not in her youth, for sure.
I believe Wookiee is attempting to be an edgy Wookiee there. That's in my opinion. I can either confirm or deny that. But hey, thank you everybody. Peace out now. And then I hit the button.